What's up, people? Wednesday night, our normally scheduled programming for a Wednesday night. Have a little hell chat, a little place to be for anybody that needs a place to be, you know. We'll see if anybody shows up tonight. I actually basically made it on time. It's been a little rough lately. I've had a lot going on. What's up, Lil Maine? Yeah. Last couple shows have been a little late too, but I'm on time this time. All good. So like I said, we'll see if anybody shows up in here tonight. A little hell chat for a Wednesday night like we normally do. We had one on Monday for the very first day of the Diddy trial. Made a little exception. Diddy's Morgan Freeman look should appeal to the jury. Yeah, it's a fair point, man. Yeah, they dressed him up like Mr. Rogers and stuff like that on purpose. A little 3-button on the bottom sweaters open up to a business shirt and some slacks and stuff like that. It's also pretty fitting for what Diddy used to make Cassie call him as a nickname. We're going to get into that. That shit's gross. There's all kinds of gross stuff that's come out. It hasn't been a good couple days for Diddy. And, you know, I've got a couple of rundown. I mean, I've been listening to it, of course. So I've got the stuff that was like really nuts that stuck out to me in my head. But I have a couple of articles that I bookmarked that kind of went through it play by play the last couple of days that we're going to read from, you know, to keep it all straight. So it's not been a good couple days for the diddler, though. I can tell you that. Not at all. He's had a rough go of it. Some of the stuff that's come out has just been absolutely atrocious, man. Absolutely atrocious. There's some things, though, that haven't come up in trial yet that I'm very interested. I'm hoping it's going to come soon, or like come out with some of the other, the other witnesses that they have lined up, you know, like I guess like over the coming weeks, because they're expecting this to go like no, I mean, Dustin, I didn't hear the King baby oil. I mean, that's pretty funny. They did talk about, we're going to get to all this, but where baby oil is concerned, she did mention that like they would literally fill bathtubs with baby oil and like make people dunk themselves in them, like make sure that they were completely covered and shiny and stuff like that. She actually, like I said, with the nickname in 6, so I'm going to wait a little bit for that one. Anybody that knows what it is, that's cool. But it came out in trial, and it's really fucking gross, dude. He's 17 years older than her, and met her when she was 19. You know, it's pretty fucked up, the nickname that he used to make him call her. It's pretty bad, but we'll get to that. What's up, Carmela? What's up, Co-Train? Dustin, good to see you. Yeah, very disturbing, Co-Train. Very disturbing indeed, man. Very. Charm says Jaguar Wright is not taking her foot off his neck. You know, I haven't really. That's not somebody I follow. I know who it is. But I did see a headline where she came out to the trial, and I guess she was talking some stuff. But I honestly didn't read into that. Hang on, let me pull up some more music while we're just getting started, letting a few people come in here. There we go. I guess that'll work. As long as there's no commercials or whatever, that'd be fine. But yeah, good to see everybody that's coming in. Let's say it's a Wednesday night. You know, we'll see who all pops in. But it is our normal time for a hell chat. So we're going to use it to cover day 3 of the Diddy trial. And, you know, the first day, we can rehash on that real quick. Let me turn this down just a little bit. We'll have a little background music. That's fine, but I'll turn it down so everybody can hear me. You know, just a quick rehash or whatever. The first day for witnesses, after they gave their opening statements, if anybody didn't hear that, go back, listen to the last hell chat we did on Monday. I did that with MRE. You know, that first day they did the opening statements. Like I said, go back and listen to the first one we did for that. They also had, the first witness was the security guard that was on the grounds the night of this like famous video we've seen where Diddy's running around in a towel and dragging her back to a freak off. You know, so that ended up being extra damning for him, right? Because everybody in the world, let's just touch on that real quick, because the point I wanted to make, which was You know, everybody saw the video. It was released. We knew that he beat the crap out of her, drug her back to this room, right? Well, now in the trial, we're getting confirmation that this video everybody's already seen, the one he's already apologized for in the context of domestic violence. Now we find out that there was people in that room, that they were like doing a freak off, and that she was trying to leave. She told them she didn't want to stay anymore, and she was fucking leaving. And he was dragging her to a freak off, you know, against her will. So, you know, luckily the security guard made it up there. He was walking them back to their room. She expressed, you know, her need and want and interest in leaving. Diddy said in front of the security guard, he told her, "You're not going anywhere, bitch. You're not leaving." And the security guard, who is also an LA police officer, but working in the capacity as a security guard at that time, he told Diddy, if she wants to leave, she's fucking leaving, man. Like, you're not, yeah, you can't just tell people that they can't leave and keep them against their will. If she wants to leave, then she's leaving. And that's exactly what happened. You know, they set up a car to pick her up and she left. But that video, nonetheless, is a video of her trying to leave a freak off without his permission, and, you know, doing his best to drag her back to that. So that's super fucked up. But that first day, like I said, that was the first witness, was the security guard. He came in contact with them when that was all going on. You know, Diddy offered him money to not say anything to anybody. Now, some people were trying, I didn't know this. I learned this by watching these shows with the lawyers and stuff. And in a couple of the shows, they mentioned that a lot of people are like, okay, well, isn't that bribery? Well, if that guy would have been working in the context of a police officer that night, then it would have been bribery. They said it's not legally bribery unless you try and do it to a politician or a police officer, that it's not actually illegal as a citizen to offer another citizen money to keep their fucking mouth shut about something. So that was interesting. I guess I learned that. But either way, he tried to give him money. That guy, from what I can I mean, I may be misinterpreting this. So I just want to put that out. I'm always fair, right? I mean, I might have misinterpreted this. I don't think so. But I can see maybe a way that it might be, or it might go a different way. You know, it might just be happenstance. But from what I understand, is the security guard knew, because that guy just tried to offer him money to go away, or to make everything go away, not talk about it. He figured something was going to happen, and this dude was going to try and pay off somebody to get a hold of the security tapes and stuff. So he recorded the shit off of the security tapes on his phone. He said when he came back to work the next day, the tapes were already gone. Now, we know that Diddy paid $100,000 to get his hands on those tapes, right? I did hear some people say that he recorded the video just so he could show his wife. Who knows, right? I don't know. What I've read, though, in the court thing is that in either case, he took copy of it with his phone, and he had some of the hallway shots and stuff like that, the angles rather, that are edited into these videos that we've been seeing. Okay, so that was the first guy. The second witness was the first male escort, and that shit was really gross and degenerate. That lasted for the rest of the first, right? So half of that first day, right? In the morning, they had opening statements. Then they did the security guard. On the first day also, they started the testimony of this male escort, this fucking prostitute. Again, we talked about all of that on the first show that we did on Monday, so go back and check that out. But I'll just say that, like, that was all horrendous and disgusting. You know, he talked about a lot of the stuff that they did, how they did it, how it was orchestrated. You know, the fact that he backed up the fact that there were drugs involved. You know, that Diddy would orchestrate it all. Like he'd basically be off in the corner, a dark corner, like Gollum, beaten off. Um, he would make him pee on her, pee in her mouth, even though she didn't want it or like it. Um, when she came on the stand later on her first day, she talked about how she was just that was one of the things she mentioned, obviously made her feel like dirty and ashamed and like objectified, that she didn't want to do it. Oftentimes she would choke on the piss. Really gross, really gross, man. So again, you go back and I don't want to get more into that because it's really nasty. And we've got a lot of really other gross stuff to talk about already tonight as we get into the day 2 and day 3. That was just day 1 of the testimony, the first couple witnesses. So on the second day, that same male escort, let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. Hang on. Go ahead and turn that off. Let's turn that music off for a minute. On the second day, they continued just in the morning time, just for a short while. They continued the rest of the testimony with that prostitute, the first male escort. Where's it at? Here it is. He told them that, like we said on the first show, just to reiterate, they asked him again how they met when they were doing cross-examination. He said that he was called down there from a service that he works for, and that he thought he was going to be dancing at a bachelorette party. Instead, she answered the door wearing a wig and lingerie. She told him that it was her birthday, and and her husband wanted to give her a gift. That was the very first time that they met. He said that he personally witnessed Ventura being attacked, and specifically talked about 2 different times. One time when he dragged her by her hair out of a room as she was screaming, "I'm sorry." He told them that the reason he'd never called the police or got involved was because the first time he saw that violence, he said something about it, and Diddy had security. They kind of like gathered around him and took his ID, his driver's license, and took a picture of it and told him, in not so many words, that we know how to find you. We know who you are. We know where you live, and he said that he took it as a threat, because he said Diddy looked him in the face and told him that this was insurance. So he said that he felt like his life was being threatened. So he said that this guy, with all the money that he had, basically had unlimited power. He had this huge staff of people working for him, doing everything he said. He said he had people with guns all over the place and shit like that. So he literally thought that he could lose his life if he reported all that stuff, or if he turned these guys in or snitched on them for beating up his girlfriend. All right, let me get down to the bottom of this page real quick. So I want to talk about the rest of the stuff that happened on day 2 before we cruise into day 3. Because day 2 was the basically Tuesday was the first time that Cassie took the stand. Now, they had this back and forth in the morning, or basically like right after that first prostitute, his testimony was over with on Tuesday morning. And right before they brought Cassie up on the stand, it wasn't like a big stink or anything like that, but they did have an issue that they discussed about her husband being in the room while she was testifying, right? Apparently there were certain parts of her testimony, and we heard it. We're going to talk about it. I can understand why now. But they said there was certain parts of her testimony that it could really set a husband the fuck off, right? A husband might hear certain things about another man doing things to the woman that he loves, right? Putting her in pain and causing her fear, right? That might set a husband off. So there were certain parts of it, I guess, and they were worried about that. So one side took a blanket statement or a blanket position of he just can't be in here while she testifies at all. Let's just fucking make this easy and say that this dude's just not allowed in the courtroom at all, right? And then you had another side that said, well, listen, you know, maybe we can just make him leave for a part of it, right? Like he can sit in here, he can support his wife, offer her, you know, support from the crowd. You know, maybe she could take solace in seeing him, knowing that he's there for most of it. And when we know we're going to get into certain things, maybe we'll ask him to leave. And that's ultimately what the judge agreed to do. So they did that. Cassie, she showed up. She's 8 months pregnant. So this was fuckery. And I want to know if everybody agrees with me on this, what I'm going to tell you. Daniel Illuminati says, I think they're going to call the husband as a witness. That's what I heard somewhere. Okay, fair enough. I didn't see anything about that. The only stuff that I saw about the husband pertained to this issue that came up in there. So, you know, maybe that had something to do with it too, but I didn't see that. Excuse me. But I do want to know what everybody thinks about it. Let me put that a different way. I want to see how many people might possibly agree with me. Because I felt like this was really fucked up. It was super fuckery because I can see where they're coming from, but I think that it's kind of dark, even for a defense, right? So the defense took the position that they did not want Cassie to walk across the courtroom up to the witness box, whatever, to the witness stand. They didn't want her to walk through there and then get up there herself while the jury was already seated. They didn't want to see they didn't want the jury to see that basically she was 8 months pregnant and like kind of doing her best, holding on to her stomach, right? Doing her best to get down the aisle, you know, get seated and comfortable and everything like that. They started arguing with the judge saying that it would be a burden to their client, like that the jury was going to take these extra sympathies if they saw this pregnant woman, you know, paraded before them. And I was just like, you people are fucking sick, you know, like genuinely fucked up in your heads, dude. The jobs that these people do for money are not worth it. So these defense people are abhorrent to me in some cases, but you know, just some cases. And this whole trial, these people have been making me sick, the defense, right? And I'm not presuming anything other than these people are just rotten to even be willing to present some of the things that they have in court, you know, automatically paint people as fucking trash and whores and gold diggers. And, you know, you automatically must be going after sympathy because you want to march a pregnant woman down the aisle of the court and all this kind of crazy shit. So they were arguing with the judge. They wanted the jury to wait until Cassie had come through the court and was already sitting in the box before, they wanted her to be sitting there in the box before the jury came out. So that was a bunch of fuckery too. And that was before the shit even started. That was before any of it even started, man. Before she was even fucking sworn in. All right, let me climb up here real quick. All right, let's see what we got here. Let me go through these comments real fast. What's up, Honeybee? What's up, DJ? Always good to see you, my dude. Daniel Illuminati, I hope you're well. Oh, why did that do that? That's weird. This fucking StreamYard's stupid. Yeah, Dustin agrees. Yeah, it wasn't a good look. I mean, that's why I said, like, I get where they're coming from. You know, that people and human beings obviously have an extra layer of compassion for a pregnant woman, but no, it's like, how dare you even ask and make such a fucking big deal about how it's a burden on your client for people to see this woman and that she's pregnant and it's laborious for her to make it down the... No, fuck you. You know, like, we're not going to take all these extra precautions for your client just because you think that, you know, sympathy for a pregnant woman is a burden on your client, because that's the woman he's accused of harming in so many disgusting, or one of the women he's accused of harming in such disgusting ways. Remember, there's other witnesses that are coming. Yeah, Honeybee agrees with me, it looks like. DJ agrees with me, looks like. Yeah. What's up, Carol? Good to see you. What's up, Steve? What's up, Aegon? Good to see you, man. I hope you're well. I hope everything's good with you, bro. I'm not. What are you talking about, Vato? What the fuck? Yeah, total fuckery, Dustin. Total fuckery. Yeah, so when she first got on the stand, they were just asking her some things like, you know, getting it out of the way. What are some of the things that Combs paid for in her life, like cars, houses, luxury trips, things like this, phones and her laptops. They would talk about, they showed her pictures of all the employees that worked for him, including the security guards and the people that would secure these hotel rooms and set them up for the parties, and the people that would be around, like even chefs and people that did the IV, like everybody. They showed her pictures of like everybody that worked for him, so she could identify them and like what they did in the organization. Because basically the RICO part of this is, you know, that it's an enterprise. He uses the people around him from his companies, or you know, whatever, even if it's just like his personal team that he hires with money he makes from these companies. But the point is that he has this like group of people, right? That there's a conspiracy amongst this group of people that work for him, and it's you know, filled with coercion and fear. That's basically like the backbone of this case, right? So they went through, they showed her all the pictures, they got the fact that he paid for a lot of things out of the way, and then they kind of went into what might have been like promised to her, right? Like what deals she had with Diddy, how she met him in the first place. Did he honor any of those deals? Did he use them against her for blackmail or extortion? You know, that's before they even got into the freak off part. They wanted to talk about the financial thing. And it's super fucked up. Like in a nutshell, right? We'll make a short version out of a long transcript. She's 19 years old. She meets Diddy. At first, they're not dating or anything like that. She's a singer. She's an aspiring singer. Looking for a deal, looking for management, all that kind of thing. She wants to be famous, needs support. And he starts bringing her around, starts getting close to her, starts talking to her about giving her a record deal or helping her out in the industry and all this kind of stuff. And then he literally just kissed her one night when they were in an office or a room together. He pulled her aside, got her alone, and kissed her. She said, "I was super fucking surprised. I did not expect that from a man his age or a man of his stature in the industry. He had never indicated before that he liked me, or we didn't have anything like that going on." And again, he's 17 years older than her, right? She's 19. Fast forward, he signs her to a 10-album deal. Now, that's fucking insane. That's literally fucking insane. For a new artist that's not proven, there's no predictability, there's research done, right? This is not somebody that has like a, you know, mad hit singles or like is blowing the fuck up. And even then, this is the very first deal to be made with a young person who might only have one album in them, right? They're not tour tested by, this is just Rad Trap talking to you, right? So it's like these people are very green, as they say, right? They're very green. And typically, even in major money, like the Diddy does, right? The kind of artists that he signs at that level, the radio people, right? Essentially, let's call them that, like commercial. For your first deal, you're looking at a max of like a 3-album deal, typically. they don't even know how you're going to do business. You might end, you don't have a team put together yet. You don't have like a reliable manager. Maybe you do, but maybe they're not somebody that's considered known in the industry. Maybe they're green too. By that, basically put it this way, like maybe you're an upcoming artist. Some people have heard of you. You're doing well, but your manager at that time's your cousin, right? Or your best friend. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like that manager would be green. They might have done a good job, but this is like a major label that's getting ready to sign you to a deal and spend millions of dollars on you. And they're not going to give you a fucking 10 album deal. It's just not, they're not going to commit themselves to an artist for 10 years like that. It's just insane. It's really bad for the artist too. And it shows you that they didn't have anybody really looking out for them. This Cassie person must not have had any kind of management, which we find out is true because fucking Diddy gave her a manager through his record label, which is again like the number one thing you never do. You don't let your label give you a manager that fucks you forever. But anyway, I digress. It's proof that she didn't have anybody that knew what the fuck they were doing around her, because by signing a 10-year deal like that, you're locking yourself in. You're really, really locking yourself in with a group of people that might do fuzzy math. They might treat you like shit. They might not end up supporting you, and they can shelf you at any time. If anything goes bad, they can literally just choose to not put your product out. They do not have to fucking distribute it. They don't have to. It happens to people all the time. And that's exactly what the diddler did, right? He signed her to this 10 album deal, basically knowing he was never going to release her, right? And it also gave him the power to give studio time, take away studio time, right? Make promises on things, leak certain songs, right? Put certain things around certain people just enough to give her hope. Let her perform at like certain parties and shit like that. Do certain kinds of work when he approved it. But it allowed him to keep control over her and essentially end her career right then and just kind of keep her under his thumb. Okay. So they also asked her about the things that he would normally have around him and like the people that he would have around them. Would they have guns? Were these like, actual private security people? Were these people that were like police officers, off-duty police officers that were carrying guns? Or were these like people that like Diddy hired off the street or just knew, et cetera, et cetera? She said that there was always a lot of guns around, that they did often keep them in the safes that were at the houses that they would travel around to. He also kept a lot of different videotapes in the safes also, which was kind of interesting. They did play today on day 3. They played some of the freak offs for the jurors. So that's kind of gross, man, to have to go and sit on a jury and then like somebody hands you a fucking tablet and it's a bunch of gross porno. Yeah, really nasty. She also told an interesting story. Let me grab a sip of my drink real quick. Suge Knight's name came up yesterday on day 2. That was kind of interesting. And not for any of the reasons that we were hoping, right? Suge Knight's name might pop up in this trial. And honestly, I think it's totally fucking made up. I think it's total bullshit. It's Fugazi's story. I think it's one of those things that like a man does like to get their woman all worried and hyped up, kind of like, I don't know if it's like to cause some fear, make them worry about you on purpose. It might have been a ruse for him to leave at the same time. You know what I mean? He's a fucking weird motherfucker. A lot of unstable, codependent dudes do shit like that where they'll create scenarios and act like they're going to go after somebody and they never have the intention to do so. They just kind of worry the people around them. So in either case, the story goes like this. Cassie says that one time they're chilling, having what does it say? Let me look at this real quick just to make sure I tell this the right way. Let me see if it says anything about Okay, it doesn't. So they're just chilling in a house right outside of LA, right? Or no, in LA. They're at a house in LA. One of Diddy's security guards came into the home and told him that rival music mogul Suge Knight was at a nearby diner. Okay, so this is Cassie's story. They're chilling in this house in LA. One of the security guards comes in, tells Diddy that Suge Knight's at a diner nearby. Okay, so Combs and the security guard got all dressed in black, covered their heads and faces, grabbed guns, and left the house while Ventura cried and begged him not to go and not to do anything stupid. That shit is absolutely asinine. It's asinine, and it's fugazi as fuck. He had no intention of going out to some nearby diner and shooting Suge Knight. That shit is preposterous. It would have never, ever happened. It didn't happen. We know that. But it's not even a possibility. That dude was definitely not going to risk everything by going to a public diner and shooting Suge Knight. That'd be like the biggest thing that ever happened on Earth after Biggie and Tupac died, right? In that world. Or for the press, or however you want to look at it that way. So I think the whole thing was made up. I think that's fucking bullshit. I think people should have. I haven't seen anything yet. Well, to be fair, I haven't looked it up either. I've been very busy. But I think collectively the interwebs in the world should be shouting bullshit from the top of the mountain on that story right there. Either he deliberately made that whole fucking thing up just to get her all worried and freaked out, or he was planning on going somewhere else to do something else and he needed like some weird reason and he just took it to an extreme. Because remember, these people are on mad drugs. Don't even try and make like reasonable sense out of it, right? These people are totally, yeah, it's a very good point, Honeybee. Such a pathetic, egomaniacal, narcissist move. Exactly, dude. Exactly. And that's why, that's what I'm saying. Like, it could have been that way even without the drugs. And I guess that's what I was getting at with this dude. Which is that it's a very dude thing to do, right? People that, at least one that's very codependent like that, very grapey, right? Very possessive. He might just be trying to worry her and get her freaked out and like keep his thumb on her, right? Make her worry about him, put her in a submissive kind of position, and making him feel powerful or loved or needed or whatever, right? In either case, we have to add to that all the drug. They were literally on piles of drugs, right? They were on fucking piles of drugs. The guy was doing mad coke, ketamine, ecstasy, all kinds of fucking crazy shit. They were doing opiates. So these people were just out of their fucking minds. And in either case, though, I'm calling total bullshit on the whole thing. And I think the whole world should join me in that and really laugh in his face over that. Because not only did it not happen, right? I mean, and when I say, I mean, like, he obviously didn't shoot Suge Knight, right? He obviously did not show up at a diner dressed in black with his face blacked out and running their pistols, pistols out with his security looking for fucking Suge Knight. People would have heard about that. Never happened. So that's all a bunch of garbage. But that came up in fucking court yesterday, either way. Let me see. Let me go and skip that. Let me get to the top of this. Here we go. Okay, so it says in tears. Again, this is Tuesday. This is the second day. This is yesterday. In tears, Cassie described on the stand the fear and humiliation she says that she experienced when Combe called the first escort over to his home. She then explains how she took ecstasy and got drunk beforehand. She also put on a masquerade mask. This was another weird thing that he used to make people wear masks and shit at their parties. He'd make them wear like masquerade masks and wear outfits and stuff like this. Fucking weird and role play. She said that she would get really high and she would continue to use more and more drugs as the years went on, and the freak offs were more and more frequent. That basically became her job. That she wasn't even a music artist at all. That it was just her, basically like her job to go to and participate in these freak offs with and for him. They were a weekly ritual and then multiple times a week, in some cases. She said that she was always worried that if she declined to participate, he would become angry and beat her or grape her. She said it's like his eyes would go black, describing episodes of his rage. Let me cruise down here. Okay, let me go to the next part. Okay. Prosecutors are asking dozens of details about the freak-offs, asking Ventura to name the hotels that they took place in. She said there's way too many to name. She described all the different kinds of candles and settings and themes and stuff that Combs would use when he was having the hotel rooms put together for the freak-offs. All right, let me go up here. Court takes a short break. We keep cruising up. So this shit's fucking weird. They talked about how they acquired these escorts and like where they found them at, right? First of all, I couldn't even believe when I heard this, when I was listening to the shows today, and then when I read it myself, when I pulled up these links. Daddy and Cassie were using fucking Craigslist personals, dude. Think about it. Let that sink into your brain for a minute. They were using local Craigslist ads and Backpage. It literally says Craigslist Backpage, and it names the title of this degenerate prostitute agency. We're going to get to that in a minute. But first, I want us to really focus on the fact that fucking Puff Daddy, one of the most famous people in the universe, right? Instantly recognizable by face, by profile, by voice, probably by a lot of people that are huge fans. This dude is contacting randos in cities, rando whores. Think about that. These are not people that work for agencies. This is not somebody that's been fucking tested for STDs. This is not somebody that's been background checked to make sure they're not some freaky deaky fucking serial killer, right? Some weirdo fucking Dahmer. This is some dude whose ad you're replying to on Craigslist in major cities, dude. These people could be highly mentally unstable and fucked up. And then you couple that with the fact that like he often insisted on her having unprotected sex, and all of the people in the freak offs, like the different escorts that they used and stuff like that, he oftentimes insisted that they just quote unquote bareback and that they didn't use condoms. That shit is just unbelievably fucking irresponsible. First of all, right? You're talking about people that could randomly become pregnant. You're talking about absolute positively the opportunity to pass along a disease or mix them together with somebody else's fucking gross disease. Now you got a double gross, right? But on top of that, it's just foul. It's just foul and dirty. It's just foul and dirty. But yeah, imagine that. No wonder these people were like so extra surprised, right? Some of these people that they would hire off a fucking Backpage and Craigslist that are used to doing like the local railway worker, right? They're used to fucking doing like the local accountant whose wife treats him like shit. And then all of a sudden it's fucking Diddy in a corner jacking off in the dark, making everybody take dunks in a goddamn bathtub full of baby oil so they're slick and shiny, he says. I mean, fuck. That's just insane. So the other one that was mentioned, right? So we've got Craigslist and Backpage specifically mentioned. Then you've got a fucking prostitute agency called Cowboys for Angels. Cowboys for Angels. That shit's nasty. Fuck those people. Straight up fuck those people. And on top of it, like I've spoken with MRE many times, we always agree with each other because it's a fact of fucking life, and everybody in here knows it to be true. Prostitutes, like 95% of the time, they're expected to fucking do other dudes, man. Like this is not a, I mean, yeah, they're gonna be involved with some women, and sure, the independent ones, or I'm sure all of them have a choice to say, no, I'm only going to sleep with women. Most of the time it's going to be the incel version, right? Because a beautiful woman that's about her shit and responsible and knows what time it is, unless they're cheating on their husband and they have no other way, most of the time 9 out of 10 women are not going to call a fucking agency unless it's for a bachelorette party to have some moron come over and fucking, dance in front of them or whatever, and they can all laugh and throw cake off, you know what I mean, take pictures and have their fun, but nobody's actually fornicating. That's different. It's a bachelorette party, just like going to a strip club. I'm sure those guys do a lot of that kind of work. To be fair, that dude said that he thought he might be showing up to a bachelor's time he met them, so we'll be fair. But while it's still your choice to only do the once in a while woman that calls up actually looking for that, most of the time it's going to be dudes that are going to be fucking calling up for that kind of shit, right? And these are the people that you want your girlfriends and other women to sleep with without protection. It's just unbelievable. What's up, KD? Always good to see you. I saw a few people. Let me actually go up here, do the chat real quick before I keep talking. What's up, Grumpy? Always good to see you, man. Montauk, good to see you too. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure I caught a couple of people I saw coming in. All right, let me get back to this. Yeah, so Craigslist, Backpage, Cowboys for Angels. Those were the fucking 3 major places that they would get their prostitutes from. Okay, let's see here. Normally, okay, so they said that they would pay typically $1,500, anywhere between $1,500 and $6,000 for these different prostitutes. The court showed a bunch of pictures to her of these different male escorts. She was naming the ones that she could remember from all of the different cities. She was explaining that Diddy had favorites of the male escorts, usually the ones that had the biggest wangs, like they were talking about before. In the original paperwork, they were saying, that for these freak offs, Diddy specifically made his staff and made these women that were approving them. Like Cassie, she would a lot of times even pay for them. He would give her the money. He gave her even like a script she was supposed to read to these dudes about how she's not a cop and making them say they're not cops, et cetera, et cetera. But in either case, they were instructed to find the dudes with the biggest wangs, right? Super fucking gross and weird. But she talked about how he had his favorites and he would fly them to all different cities and different places in order to meet up with them when he wanted, certain guys to sleep with her. When he wanted to watch certain dudes get naked and do a chick, I guess. It's pretty fucking gross. Other times, dude, we haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm going to mention it now because it's so fucked up. He would act even if he couldn't be there. That's how degenerate and nasty this motherfucker is. Even if he wasn't going to be in the same place as Cassie on a certain day, if he wanted to have her to have a freak off, so I'm sure he did this with other women too. But even if he wasn't there, he would make her call up a male escort or set up a fucking freak off to participate in, and he would have it FaceTimed to him so he could watch it on his phone and masturbate while he was in the airplane or backstage or the time. Absolutely fucking disgusting. Then they talked about the drugs. It said that ketamine fueled the parties. Marijuana, ketamine, GHB, ecstasy, and lots of cocaine. And when they asked her why she also did opiates from time to time, she said she often did the opiates after the freak-offs because it helped her kind of like forget about having sex with the strangers that she didn't really necessarily want to be having sex with, sometimes for hours and hours and hours in different sessions. And that's something else too. When she said sessions, they were like, well, define sessions, right? And she said, let me read this verbatim. She tells the court of every event that usually took place, saying one quote unquote session could last as long as 3 hours. She said sometimes they would do multiple sessions for as long as up to 4 days. She said that after each session, sometimes the chef would cook them some food. Sometimes they would have to use IVs to rehydrate and give themselves some time for the drugs that they were on to slowly wear down before the next time that they were prepared to go at it. Fucking horrific. They also spoke about they showed the video in court, right? They showed the one that everybody's familiar with where Diddy's coming down the hallway in his towel, etc., and beating the shit out of her in front of the elevator. And that's when she, for the first time, made it very, very clear, like they'd already alluded to it in the opening statements, I believe, and they touched on it with the security guard in his testimony. They definitely talked about it during that time because that was the very first witness was the security guard on Monday. He spoke about being the one that had to come up there while Diddy was still in his towel, sitting in a chair, staring at him with his legs wide open. Like, that shit's nasty. He talked about how fucking rude he was, talked about how he didn't want to let her leave. He was telling her she couldn't leave. And, so like during that testimony, it was made clear to us that there was a freak off going on in that room, that it wasn't like he was just dragging her back to him, even though that's still fucked up and still kidnapping and assault and all that kind of thing. He was literally dragging her back to a freak off that she didn't want to be a part of. Right. So even though it was alluded to on Monday, this was the first time on hand that she made it clear that there were fucking people in that room, that she had just got done with a session that she told him she didn't want to be involved in the first place. Once that session ended, she grabbed her shit and she fucking took off out of the room while he was about to go take a shower. He figured out she left, and then that's when, we see everything, him coming down the hallway still with the towel wrapped around him, throwing shit at her, beating the fuck out of her, dragging her back by her hair and by her clothes and all that kind of stuff down the hallway, trying to tell her that she doesn't leave without his permission and all this kind of stuff. Let's go up through here. Let's see. Okay, this is just covering like I mentioned in the beginning, they didn't want her coming through the open court because they didn't want the jury to feel overly sympathetic for a pregnant woman. They wanted her to be seated already when the jury came in, which is super fucked up. All right, I think that's the end of that one. Let me go ahead and pull up the one from today. All right, yeah, let me go ahead and do that real quick. All right. Let's see, is this the one? No, that's the other one. Okay. All right, here we go. Yeah, I'll tell you, one of the things they talked about today before I even start reading this, they said that when she originally made the the deal with him, right? She brought charges again. Everybody knows that, like, or I guess most people should know that have been following this. Cassie brought charges against him, and Diddy just made her a fucking deal the very next day for $20 million. What people didn't know was that originally the deal was offered to him, like, he wrote a book with all the details in it, right? She wrote a book about fucking everything. She's had her lawyers send it to his lawyers before she was going to accept any kind of publishing deal, possibly whatever. Maybe she was going to look for one, right? Let's be fair. I don't know if she had one offered to her. That's not what I'm saying. But before she went looking for or took a publishing deal, she had her lawyers send his lawyers a copy of this book and say, listen, you can buy the book. You can buy the publishing to the book for 30 million bucks. And then you can bury it if you want. Just let me fucking go. Right? This was her way of getting the fuck out and getting some money for the damages that had been done to her and her career. Because remember, she signed a 10-album deal. He only let her put out one in the very beginning, didn't push it. It did, you know, he just shelved her ass. He let her have some studio time now and again, record some. She recorded hundreds of songs, she said, eventually, but not a single one of them ever got put out, except for like little club things here and there, if I interpreted that correctly. She wanted to get paid for all of that fucking pain and suffering all the time that she stayed with him, and when did all these freak offs and got her fucking ass kicked. And she knew, remember, this was she was 19 when she met him. She was with him for 10 years. This settlement happened 11 years right after that. So she literally was grown up now, saw how the fucking industry moved, had plenty of friends in the industry, probably met plenty of people over and over and over again that told her how bad she got fucked and how her deal ruined her career and how he literally just put her career up on the shelf on purpose to control her. So she was like, fuck that. I want to get paid for the career that I never had. What's up, Lying Informant? It's always good to see you, bro. He rejected the first deal, right? And he didn't even mention the book. He just told his lawyers offer him 20 million, right? So they asked for 30 million bucks and they said, you could have the book. Diddy, I guess, told his lawyers, just offer her 20. But we don't give a fuck about the book. We don't want that. We don't want anything to do with the book. That was really fucking stupid. Because she can still put that fucking book out. You understand what I'm saying? And she literally could do it right after this trial. And it'll sell millions and millions and millions and millions of copies. If there wasn't some kind of a weird law, which I'm sure, I don't know. Who knows? I don't know enough about legal stuff to really say that. So let's just say, like, it might be looked down upon, but it would be fucking, she would sell even more copies if she put it out literally like today, right? Like if it would have gone on sale while she was on the fucking stand. But I'm sure they would say, you know, it could put the trial at jeopardy, make people extra prejudicial. That, you know, I'm sure the prosecutors told her, you know, don't put this fucking thing out until after the trial. You'll still sell millions and millions of copies, but this way the defense can't appeal and come back and say it's, you know, that was one of the things that helped sour the jury. I'm just obviously speculating, you know, but that would make sense. In either case, he really fucked up by not buying the publishing to that book, because like I say, now she can fucking put it out anyway. She still got her 20 million bucks, right? Federal subpoenas automatically supersede any NDA, any contract that she signed with him for that 20 million. She's literally compelled by law to testify. So she's in the clear on that. She can totally keep her money. There's nothing Diddy can do to her legally in any kind of civil court or anything like that. Because she's not breaking the deal that she made with him. She's federally compelled to show up to this trial, right? And she can still put this fucking book out. Let's see. This part's fucked up. It says that, and again, this is today. This is today's testimony from her. Day 3, day 2 of her, day 3 of the trial, right? So day 2 of her testimony, day 3 of the trial. In general, it says Cassie kept her composure, answering questions in a calm and matter-of-fact tone. But she became more visibly emotional as she described the times that Combs raped her. She broke down in tears shortly after as she recounted her trauma and how she had ideas of suicide and personal shame. It's fucking horrific, man. What's up, Mickey? Good to see you, bro. Yeah, really fucked up, man. She said one of the reasons that she's on the witness stand is to rid herself of the shame and the guilt and the lies that she's been carrying around, to just finally get it all out in the open so she can go on with her life, because it's all been held over her head for so long in an effort to keep her pinned down. You know, she's saying, like, look, man, and we're going to get into that as we continue on through today's testimony, but she's saying to him, you know, listen, man, this fucking guy has all these tapes on me, has all this shit digitally recorded. And there's examples that, like I said, we're only getting started on today. Just wait, it gets really bad. But she says, you know, he tells me, you know, you will fucking do this thing. And if you don't do the fucking thing, I'm going to shame you. I'm going to, you know, put this out. I'm going to put that out. I'm going to tell people you do this, or I'm going to tell people you do that. You know, you will never be able to fucking record again. I'll never put out another one of your songs, right? He does this from every angle. You'll get kicked out of fucking where you live. You know what I mean? You're like, you don't have any fucking money. I pay for everything. So she says that she just honestly couldn't carry around the shame and the guilt anymore, and be in fear that something might happen. She says, fuck it. Let's just tell everybody. Let's show everybody what happened, and let me move on with my life. Again, she testified that he fucking raped her, dude. You know, that he would get mad at her, like, and he would just take it. Even when she would scream no and please stop. Like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how else you would define that action. You're a fucking animal that should be put down and then thrown to the bottom of the ocean, man. That all of those, any one of those things is the literal definition of the grape, man. What the fuck, man? Let's see. Yeah, one time was right on the living room floor while she was fucking crying and screaming and saying no. She said that he didn't give a fuck. He didn't listen. He literally just finished and then got up and left the fucking house without saying anything to her. Left her there crying. He's an animal, dude. They're talking about all the times that they're showing pictures of all the injuries to her face and all of her black eyes and fat lips and stuff like that. I'm about to get into this next part, but one time he was all drug fueled and he came in and tried to attack her while she was sleeping. And even his own people at that time tried to calm him down and keep him off of her. But as she was waking up and once she figured out what was going on and tried to get off of the bed, she slipped and she banged her fucking eye on this end table and it gashed it open. He wouldn't let her go to a hospital. He made her wait a couple of days and then had his people drive her to a plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills to have it fixed and then kept her in a hotel while it all healed and shit, so nobody could ever see it. It's insane. It's insane. Then she was seeing this guy, Scott Muscudi, Kid Cudi. And the diddler found out. He got into her phone. He used to take her phone and her tablet and like all of her electronics and shit away from that. As one of the ways that he would punish her, that he would lock her in the fucking house and take away all of her electronics so she couldn't communicate with anybody. And that's the arson charge is what they're getting into with that, just to let you know, like to lead you in a little bit. He found out that this Kid Cudi dude was gonna let her come and live with him, right? They were kind of having like a relationship. Um, she told him what was going on, and he said, "Well, listen, you can come live here with me. I have security and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, two can play that game. That's not a problem. You know, if you get over here and you live with me, you're fine. You can't come in here." The diddler found these messages and found one very specific email that was talking about how she was going to be bringing over her toiletry, or like it was either like, "Don't forget your toiletry bag," or she, you know, from him, or she was saying, "I got to make sure I remember my toiletry bag," or something like that. You know, that's like the one thing that I need. Grumpy's, yeah, I got you, man. That's funny. Yeah, it's all Amish country. In either case, you know, one of the RICO, or one of the charges that's underneath the RICO, is arson. That arson is Kid Cudi's car getting fucking set on fire. You see what I'm saying? And I'm fairly certain that they caught the guys that set the fire and that they fucking snitched on him. We're going to see if they end up popping up anywhere over the next 8 weeks, right? Because there's other witnesses that we know. We know of some of these people that got arrested. Like, for example, the drug dealer that got arrested while he was about to board a private flight to the Bahamas, and he had a big bag of fucking pink cocaine and ecstasy and shit. He had a bunch of drugs on him that he was taking to Diddy to have these freak offs down on the island. You know, they caught that drug dealer red-handed. They not only caught him with drugs on him, they caught him getting on a plane to go and meet up with Diddy. The literal thing that they had a warrant for him for, they caught him doing. They caught him in the act. That guy flipped. That's public. We know this, right? Like, literally within a couple of days of them arresting him, that guy flipped, and they fucking took him off to protective custody. Some point, he's going to testify, right? So I'm expecting we should probably, if it's true that they got those guys that did the arson on Kid Cudi's car, and they're establishing all of this in court today, which is she was dating Kid Cudi. She was trying to leave fucking Diddy. This was all towards the end. This shit right here is like, well, maybe I'm wrong about that. Hang on, let me see. Okay, in either case, I could be wrong about the timeline, but in either way, she did date this guy, Kid Cudi. He told her, or she told him about everything that was going on. She wanted to leave Diddy. He says, "Come live with me, or you can come stay with me. I've got security. You know, that's not a problem." They email back and forth, message back and forth. Somebody says something about, "Don't forget your toiletry bag," or she says, "I got to make sure I remember that." That's one of the emails that he read. Diddy, he freaked the fuck out, went off the deep end, told her that he was going to fucking kill Kid Cudi, that he was going to fucking take care of this guy, he was going to hurt him in every way that he could, destroy his fucking music career, that she can't leave, there's nothing she can do to leave, that he would fucking do everything in his power to hurt her, take everything away from her, shame her, put out everything on her, that he wasn't going to let it happen, right? Then he even told her that his car, that Kid Cudi's car was going to be blown up, right? Well, his fucking car did get set on fire. And like I said, I'm hoping that I'm right, that they caught those guys and that they're going to, at least one of them, or, you know, whatever, they caught the people that did the arson. Hopefully they'll pop up during this trial. They're talking about different times that she had to use makeup and change her clothes to cover different parts of her body to cover up the physical violence. Let's see. She's describing one of the times he beat her up was because she went to a party that was hosted by Prince. Another time, she says that he used to fucking tell her that she looked too Mexican and to change her hair and her makeup and make her do her nails a certain way. Was constantly belittling her and like giving her shit, telling her that she looked Mexican. She looked too Mexican. She needed to look more black. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. All these different dumbass things that he would just freak out and beat the shit out of this poor woman. And throw everything at her. Throw luggage at her. Throw vases at her head. Bruise her face. Leave giant fist-sized knots all over her head and her body. Would kick her in the fucking head and step on her face while she was down. Absolutely fucking horrific. Absolutely horrific. One time he was hitting on another woman in front of her. She noticed, made like a nervous joke about it. He dragged her into an Escalade and beat the fucking shit out of her. Absolutely unbelievable. This guy's an animal. I said this before, even if like one of these things is true, right? Even if just one of these things is true, the guy's an animal. All right, let me get down through here. Get past some of this garbage. In one of the texts that she sent to Diddy that they presented in court, you know, like they were showing at different stages of their relationship, the messages. She compared him to Ike Turner, which is fitting, but also, you know, in a sick. I mean, it's sad, but it's kind of funny. Because Ike Turner was an abusive, controlling piece of garbage that pimped his wife. It was terrible. Okay, here's the part where she gassed her face. I was telling you about that. He tried to attack her in her sleep. She gassed her face. He wouldn't let her go to the hospital, made her go to a plastic surgeon, but had his people take her there and then hid her away in a hotel until it was healed. So this one's really weird. They were on a commercial flight. Think about this, right? Not a private jet. A commercial flight with the public, right? Diddy opens up a laptop and pulls up freak off videos and is watching them in his fucking airline seat. Dude, that's some trash on blast shit. Trash on blast shit, right? That's the kind of stuff that we covered people on airplanes before on Trash on Blast on the Skull Bro show. Forget about it. There's been probably 2 handfuls of times, right? But let's say at least half a dozen or better times that we've covered on Trash on Blast, some freak either watching porn on their phone, getting arrested, doing something weird like grabbing somebody's private parts that they had nothing to do with, grabbing, you know, doing weird things, masturbating. This weirdo motherfucker is sitting on a commercial airline, opens up a laptop and starts playing freak off videos, and Cassie's sitting next to him, right? And the freak off videos that he's pulling up have her getting just gang banged the fuck out. Think about that shit. She said she was mortified and trapped on the airplane while he was watching videos of her having sex with random prostitutes. Says that they had been arguing during a trip to France, and the flight home took an embarrassing turn. Not only did he pull up videos on his laptop, they were videos that he promised were deleted. And he was showing them with other people around. I said, "You're embarrassing me." He got angry. I got scared. I felt trapped. How do I possibly get out of this situation? She thought to herself. She said when they got off the plane, or I'm sorry, he fucking told her that when they got off the plane, she was going to set up another freak off. And if he didn't, and she didn't, he was going to fucking send those videos out, the ones that he was watching right then. Yep. So not only he lied to her, told her that this video was deleted, opens it up in the middle of a commercial airline or a commercial flight with her sitting there. She gets upset. She gets scared because she's trapped there. She doesn't know what to do. She's fucking pissed off and embarrassed. She says, "I thought you deleted those." And he goes, "I'm going to tell you what you're going to fucking do. You're going to set up another freak off, when we get off this plane. And if you don't, I'm just going to email this video right here out." It's insane. During freak offs, Sean would put his hands on me often. He would push me down. He would kick me in front of people. He would step on my face. There were other times if we were having a bad time or if I was scared of him or uncomfortable or whatever, I would run and I would leave and go out the back of the hotel. Prosecutors asked how often Combs would injure her during the freak offs, and she said too often. He would also beat the shit out of her if she refused to go to sex clubs. He said that he wanted to have multiple sex partners and trade off with partners and random people in the sex clubs and have a a lifestyle of voyeurism and swinger. Voyeurism and swinger lifestyle. It's a turn on for him, he said. He told her that they could swap partners. It's fucking disgusting, dude. She said that she just continued her drug use, getting more and more high, trying to disassociate from the situation and from reality. She said the freak offs became more and more frequent. That was basically her job, was to set up these freak offs for him with different escorts and different groups of people. They became, she was involved in freak offs multiple times a week. It became so frequent that she often had urinary tract infections, mouth sores, and gastrointestinal issues. When they were back to back, sometimes I would have to do a freak off with the infection. He wouldn't let me stop. Sometimes I tried to flush it out with water. I got to the point where the antibiotics didn't even work anymore. It was a mess, but he didn't care. It was really painful for a long time. I can't believe I actually dealt with that, she said. When they asked her what kind of sores she had in her mouth, and they brought up the text messages that she was sending to him saying, I'm covered in bruises, I have another infection, and I have a bunch of weird sores all over my tongue and and in the inside of my mouth. And he goes, "Sores?" And she goes, "Yeah, from the friction." And he just laughed at her. And when the prosecutor asked her what she meant by friction, she said from oral sex. So she was getting banged in her mouth by all these fucking wangs for hours to the point where she had friction blisters in her mouth, dude. Think about that. And on her tongue. Think about that for a minute while I pack my bowl. What the fuck? That shit is abhorrent. And then to laugh at her. And you laugh at her. No concern whatsoever, right? Like there's no concern whatsoever. Oh no, that's terrible. That's horrible. Do we need to get you some medicine? Do you need to go to a doctor? Is there anything I can do for you? No, he don't give a fuck. He just laughed, and he made her keep doing it even when she complained about being in pain and having these infections and stuff like that. And think about that too for the men, these prostitutes and these randos and stuff like that they have to have sex with. He's insisting a lot of times this be bareback with no condom. No protection. Ugh. Absolutely fucking horrendous, man. I'm scrolling up to these comments real quick while I hit my bowl a couple times. Yeah, it's absolutely fucking horrendous, man. It's so much worse than I thought. The things that they're talking about. Yeah, I agree, Mickey. Mickey says prison is too good for that trash pail. I agree with you. Very well said. Yeah, I can't believe that shit though, man. She's got like they're doing it so often and for so long at a time, swapping partners out. And this dude's just sitting around masturbating. Ugh. For hours, dude? For hours? Really? She developed an addiction to opiates. She always took them after the freak offs, but then she started taking them before and during, in addition to the ecstasy and the fucking ketamine. She liked the ketamine because it was the most disassociative. It helped her disassociate from reality the most. But yeah, she said in between sessions or after a freak off, she would feel tired and achy and dehydrated, not really eating too much. Emotionally, she felt empty and gross, like it was just a job, that she didn't have a life anymore. She was just a sex object for Diddy. He didn't even care that she was hurt or sad or upset or angry. And they talked about the very first time he actually leaked one of the videos. She was hosting an event in Atlantic City when someone that she was working with said that they had seen one of the sexually explicit videos of her. She reached out to Diddy, quote, "I need you to call me ASAP," according to a message that she sent to him. She told him any footage would put her career in jeopardy and cause great embarrassment to my mother and my family. He didn't respond. He didn't give a fuck. He would frequently remind her that he had videos of her having sex at his freak offs with multiple different people. He brought up the videos on the night of her birthday when she refused to leave her friends to go with him to a freak off. So she's at her friend's house having a birthday party. He comes in and says, hey, let's go have a freak off for your birthday. She says no. He goes, fuck you, bitch. Out those videos again with this bullshit. It's like, it's her birthday, dude. Let her fucking hang out with her friends for one day, not catch a fucking UTI. Yeah, I saw some stuff about that, Katie, all those weird synthetic things. Like every time, the thing I was watching was talking about how it was like every time they make one chemical compound illegal, they basically like just tweak it a little bit and it becomes a totally different chemical compound. And then like that one's legal, but it still does the same thing. Let's see. She said, I was never supposed to be on any of those videos. I told him over and over and over again, I did not want to be in any of them. Some of the cameras were hidden. Oftentimes I didn't know about them, or I would be too high to realize that they were there later on. It's horrible and disgusting. No one should ever do that to anyone, she said of the blackmail. It could ruin everything I ever worked for and make me look like a slut. I was not supposed to be on those videos, she said. I did not want to be in them. Ketamine was the drug of choice for Combs and Cassie during their orgies with sex workers. Ketamine, he always had it. He got it. Always took it out in the freak off. That was my preferred drug, she said, because it was the most disassociative. They showed her more pictures of other sex workers from different cities. She recognized some of them, but not all of them. Again, some were from Craigslist, some were from Backpage, some were from this weird prostitute place called Cowboys for Angels. Yeah. She had to change her clothes and have special makeup done to cover up her fat lip, black eye, and her legs being covered in big black sores and bruises because he beat the shit out of her right before a movie premiere that they were supposed to be going to. He threw her off a fucking boat. Yeah, he's all fucked up, gets paranoid, accuses her of stealing some of his drugs, and throws her off a motherfucking boat. What the fuck, dude? Yeah, she left him. She was in her apartment in a 17-floor building. She was on the 17th floor. He found out she was leaving him. He got past security, got up there, and was just like trying to kick her fucking door in, kicking and screaming. That shit's nuts, man. Telling her she was not going to leave him, calling her every name in the book. He made it clear to her that she was not free to leave on her own accord, that I was not going to leave him, that I could not leave him, according to her, that he was going to do everything to keep me there or ruin me, shame me. All right, let me get down through here. Oh, wait, hold on. I think I went the wrong way. Hang on one second. I think I fucked that up. I think I went the wrong way. We go back up through here. Yeah, I think okay. I did. I got to go the other way. Okay. What are you doing to me? Fucking work. There we go. All right. All right. So this part they're talking about, like I mentioned earlier, she settled her suit with him for 20 million. After all that, she was finally fucking away from him. She wrote this book. She offered him the book. What's up? Just chilling. She offered him the book straight up. She was like, look, you can fucking, I wrote everything down. And she told him it was like my own trauma therapy. She was, I'm not looking to put this out, but I am going to get some kind of damages for my music career being ruined, you shelving me for all these fucking years, refusing to put out my music, and just keeping me as your dog, and treating me like garbage, beating the shit out of me and all this kind of stuff, making me do all these prostitutes and all this, right? So she says, you can have the book that exposes absolutely everything. You can have it for 30 million bucks, right? He tells her, fuck you, I don't want your book. I'll give you 20 million to settle the suit, right? Well, that was really fucking stupid. He should have taken the rights to the book because she can still put all that stuff out, right? The NDA is totally void now. The whole agreement that she did with him for that 20 million is completely void because she's subpoenaed into a federal court, which makes it public, and there's nothing anybody can do about that. Once it's public, she can totally put this fucking book out. They might have to edit it down, maybe take some things that didn't make it to trial, right? I don't know. Again, I don't have a legal education like that. But in either case, she can still put out most of just about everything is coming out in this trial. All of the actions, the dates, the text messages, the transcripts of the phone calls, all that kind of shit. So I doubt there's going to be very much she would have to edit out. But in either case, man, you know, she got that 20 million to settle the suit because he knew it was all true and it was all going to come out. But she can still put this book out and make a whole lot more, I'm sure. Cross-examination does begin tomorrow from the defense, right? And those are a bunch of motherfuckers. Remember, these are the people that didn't even want to let her walk through the court while the jury was already seated because they didn't want the jury to see how pregnant she was and have extra sympathy for her, right? These people have made a lot of scumbag fucking moves in this trial, a lot of scumbag comments, a lot of really fucking questionable positions have been taken by those people. And I get it, you're supposed to defend your client, but they've been really fucking douchebags about it, big time. So I'm sure, my point in saying that is I'm sure they're going to be motherfuckers when they start the cross-examination tomorrow. All right, let's see. I think that might have been, I think that might have been it for today. So they're going to, wait, is that it? Let me see. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it. Yeah. Okay, cool. We basically covered most of the stuff that she had to say. Yeah, so they might have a little bit left tomorrow, right? When they open up court tomorrow, they might have, or the prosecution might have a few more questions. It's not going to last very long, though. They're basically done. They said so at the end of today. So it's probably basically going to start right away. You know, like the prosecutors might have like a half hour left with her, and then the defense is going to move in, and that shit's going to get nasty. If anybody watches this stuff during the day or can listen to any of these channels during the day that are covering the trial with the minute by minute, tomorrow might be a good day to do that because the defense is going to start showing some of their hand. You know, they have no choice. This is one of the main witnesses that they're going to have to like completely discredit or take a lot away from. This, you know, her testimony drives a lot home, and they were not able to shake at all the first two witnesses, right? Because remember, the first witness was the security guard that was at the hotel the night of the famous video we all see where Diddy's running around in a towel beating the shit out of Cassie in front of the elevator. Okay, so that was the first witness, was that security guard that came in contact with them, you know, had the security footage, saw everything happen, talked or spoke with both of them, and he, you know, made sure that she got to leave the way that she wanted to, because Diddy was trying to keep her there and force her back into the hotel room to do another freak-off session, and she wasn't having it. So the security guard made sure she got downstairs and left. But he did witness Diddy speaking to her like garbage and telling her she was not free to leave and that she's not going anywhere, bitch. You know, you're not fucking leaving, blah, blah, blah. That security guard witnessed that. And that security guard is now an LA police officer. I'm not really clear on whether or not he was a cop at that time and just happened to be like doing extra work as a security, like in a different context, or he was a security guard then and he's since become a cop. So I'm really not sure about that. So I've been trying to be kind of careful about framing that a certain way. But in either case, he is a fucking cop right now, right? He's testifying about a night he was working security. So the defense was unable to shake anything that guy had to say, right? He said that he was recording on his personal cell phone the moment he got out of the elevator because he knew who these fucking people were. He testified that Diddy tried to pay him off to keep his fucking mouth shut, not to say anything. He testified that it was the very next day when they were gone that the security tapes had already vanished. We found out later that he paid, you know, Diddy paid the management $100,000 for those security videos, but you know, they got leaked. And that security guard, like I said, was videotaping on his phone. So we got those too in either case. So that was his testimony. The second guy, the defense wasn't able to fuck with either because the second guy was a prostitute. And the only thing you could ask, he just told the truth. He literally got up there and was like, I didn't fuck it. I mean, the first few times he said, and go back and listen to the first episode that I did with the MRE if you didn't catch any of our coverage of that first day. We just did it on Monday. Go back and listen to that because we'll cover that, the security guard specifically, the opening statements, and this first prostitute witness. We cover them pretty, in detail by going through everything they said. But my point here today is the defense, just as an overview, was the defense wasn't able to fuck with him because he told the truth, right? They asked him, how did you meet them? How often did you perform for them? How many years did you perform for them at different times? How frequent was it? Were there drugs involved? Did you ever see her getting hurt? Did you see him being abusive, right? What was Diddy's role in these things? What happened in these freak offs, right? The dude just answered everything honestly. So there wasn't much of anything for the defense to do with this guy. They really didn't spend much time with him because they knew he was telling the truth. I don't think that anything that guy did was anything that Diddy called conjecture. I don't think that he looked at his lawyers and said, oh, don't let him say that, right? He had no problem with the fact that I guess that they had hired this guy to come in and do what he did. And he was one of the independent guys, and when I tell you he was honest, this man sat on a stand and was like, oh yeah, Diddy made me piss on her. She didn't like it. She wasn't into it, but he made me pee on her. He made me pee in her mouth. He used to get mad at me. He said Diddy would get mad and admonish us. He would get mad at me specifically if I peed too fast. He would tell me, slow it down, make it last, kind of like pinch it back a little bit, pee a little slower, make sure you take your time with it. Because this dude's in a corner jerking off, right? Nasty motherfucker. He said that he was around for a few years, like that they would call him whenever like they wanted to. There was a bunch of different prostitutes they worked with, but I guess whenever Diddy felt like seeing his little sweet boy, this guy here, they would call him up and have him come over. And he said that Diddy would get mad about things like they didn't have enough baby oil on them, that they weren't shiny enough, they weren't slick enough, that he would have them like role play and act like they had just met each other at the airport and stuff, and like wear outfits, and that he would direct them and tell them exactly what they should do, or he would tell them, okay, break it apart, it's going too fast, y'all need to chill out, slow down. Weird stuff, real weird stuff. But he told the truth about everything. It seemed like very graphic stuff. He said that he physically saw Diddy beat the shit out of her. He saw him come into a room and grab her by the hair and drag her out caveman style while she was screaming and crying, yelling, I'm sorry. He said that he took her into a room, was slapping her and hitting her so hard that you could hear it happening over the party. You could hear the slaps and the hits over the fucking sound of the people in the room. He said it made it to where he couldn't perform. Right? It's stuff like that. I mean, it's graphic, but we're all grown. And I'm just saying to you, like, these are things that make me believe what this guy is saying. He's like, yo, I'm a fucking prostitute. You know what I mean? Like, I get down, I go to these parties, I dance like a fanoik for fucking women. I'm a woodsman. I keep that shit up for hours. I do my job. I gets paid, right? He's like, but this guy was beating the fucking shit out of a woman and I couldn't even perform, dude. Or this guy's a freak. He was making me pee on his fucking girlfriend and getting mad at me when it was fucking not, lasting, because he's in the corner beating off. He's like, this guy was telling the truth. The fucking defense knew it. They didn't spend much time with him at all. Then Cassie took the stand, right? And she's been going through all of it. She went through all that stuff we just talked about. She said that she hated the peeing stuff, that Diddy made her do it, that it turned him on, that he was a voyeur, that one of the things that she was later told or instructed to tell the escorts was that Diddy was a voyeur and that he just liked to watch. really weird stuff. She was instructed to tell them that she was not a cop. She was instructed to make them tell her that they weren't a cop, that they weren't recording anything, and they had already turned in all their electronic devices and all this stuff, that they were to do exactly as they were told. There was like this whole thing he made her tell them, you know. But she ran through the fucking abuse, man. She ran through everything from the time she met him when she was 19, everything that he promised her, all the lies that he told her, you know, how she told how she, or what point she finally realized. Let's put it that way. She told about like the points in her life where she was realizing certain things. One of those being that, like, you know, everybody was right, that he signed her just to bury her and like control her and keep her there as this fucking slave. That, you know, there was never gonna be a song that was good enough for him. There was never gonna be an album that he would consider putting out, no matter how many songs she recorded, no matter how many times she went to the studio with or without his permission. You know, she realized that this dude signed her, and I'm glad Cremel's in here. Cremel, she's 19. She's never fucking put out shit. You know, she's totally unproven, has, you know, a minuscule localized fan base, and this guy signed her to a 10 album deal. Right? It's insane. It's just insane. And that's why I said earlier, and I'm sure because Cremel worked in the recording industry and I've been in the, you know, whatever. Cremel knows what I'm saying. That's fucking nuts, you know. And what I was saying is that that's proof that she didn't have anybody around her looking out for her best interest either, because that could have just, even if he was, you know, it could be proven that he, as the label, had her best interests at heart, which is not the case. But even if that was the case, you know, she, as a brand new artist, being young, she doesn't know what the fuck she's going to be doing in 10 years. She doesn't know what kind of, you know, what her relationship with this label is going to be like, if they do good math, if they do fuzzy math, if they're, you know, these are people that are supposed to basically have a fiduciary responsibility to you, just like your manager, you know, when it comes to your distribution and or anything that they promise you in the contract, put it that way. Deals like that are meant to bury people. You know, if you don't, unless you're already proven, right? You're a proven fucking seller. You're not green. They know you can tour. You know what I mean? Like, they know that you can get out and travel and perform. These are things, you know, that happen before you get legitimate long-term multi-album deals, right? And I was fair. I said, even if he really truly did believe in her at 19 with no fan base and like a little, just a little bit of buzz, the most responsible deal he would have made would have been like maybe probably like a 3-album deal. Let's see how you do on three cycles, right? And if at the end of 3 cycles, if everything is cool, you know, you do your press work like you're supposed to, you go to the places like you're supposed to, you tour, you do well, you know, you're selling, you're making numbers, and we're not making up still your first album off of the income from your third. You know, if we're there, then, you know, we'll talk about a long-term situation. But he knew exactly what he was doing. You know, again, he was 17 years older than she was. He took ownership of her. He made a lot of promises about what he was going to do for her. And as soon as she signed that contract, he put it in a drawer. And another thing that a quote that came out in the trial was from, remember I told you, not only did he sign her for distribution and recording, he also assigned her a manager from the label. Fuck that. Fuck that. You have to have your own manager. Sometimes it's a personal manager. Sometimes it's just the manager you use in the industry. Maybe you're part of a group. Right? It just depends on whether or not you have a personal brand within that group. But I digress. The manager said, you know, I managed Cassie with one hand tied behind my back because Diddy would not allow her to do things. He would not let her go and promote. He would not let her go and do these different shows or these different industry opportunities. They're called showcases. He wouldn't allow it. He would once in a while, like I said, she said that he'd let her put out some singles and like have them played in certain clubs and like certain area. He controlled it just to appease her, probably. In certain situations and in certain places, he did it probably just to appease her or continue the lie. But he would allow her to then go to some of these places and make appearances and host parties and stuff. That's all fucking bullshit. You know, that's all fucking bullshit. And I'll tell you something else. And this is the truth. If you're a current artist, right, that's doing really well and touring and selling numbers, you don't go and host parties. For you to do that, that would be distasteful on like the VH1 stage of your career. You understand what I'm saying? Now you could show up at like clubs that are filled with like youthful type people and like make an appearance. But then you just want to be making appearances. You don't want to be hosting parties and stuff like that. Yeah. So he knew exactly what he was doing. She realized that shit. You know, she said people were telling her that, describing that to her as she got older, and she started realizing that, you know, how the industry worked and how all these other artists, as she met them, how their careers were treated by their label. She saw it was totally different. You know, and eventually her friends would tell her, you know, this is what happened. This dude buried you. He did it on purpose. You know, obvious. It's obvious. And she said over time, it literally just became her job to go to, participate in, and set up sometimes these freak offs that she was in. You know, sometimes he would pick the men, sometimes he would make her pick the men. It's really weird. It's really weird. Now I am waiting still to hear about these like giant fucking mansion parties where they had the, you know, the little people, and they had, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still waiting to hear about these giant parties, like where Ashton Kutcher was there and Cuba Gooding Jr. was over by the fucking deli tray rubbing people's taints without their permission. You know what I mean? All these crazy fucking stories have come out, you know, like, where's Carl Winslow getting his back blown out at, you know, where's this mansion party at? I want to hear about that stuff, right? I want to hear about some of these insane freak offs that were supposed to have happened with people that were just like fucking in all the bedrooms and shit like that. And, you know, Diddy was doing all that crazy gay shit. You know, they're going to have to get to that stuff eventually, unless somebody got paid the fuck off, because that's half of the hype and stigma that's been going on around this whole case forever. You know, there's no way it's all fucking bullshit. It's literally impossible. There's no fucking way it's all bullshit. There's a little bit of truth in everything. And they raided all these different houses and took cameras from all these different houses. And they admitted, they said, you know, all these different places they went, these were not hotel rooms. These were fucking residences where they pulled out hundreds of sex toys and thousands of bottles of fucking lube and baby oil and all that kind of stuff. Again, they pulled these videotapes and these recordings off of electronic devices. They went out and spoke to victims. This is shit that they said publicly. They had to go and notify all the victims of the people that were on these tapes that were recorded in these freak offs without their knowledge. So, you know, I totally understand, and I'm not putting one foot, you know, I'm just like, I'm not getting ahead of it. I realize that we're in the very, very, very first few days of the first couple of days of the first week, right? We've only done 3 days of the first week of this trial. It's supposed to go 8 weeks. That means we've got a lot of fucking ground to cover. I totally get that. But I think a lot of people, I am running in place, waiting for them to start talking about some of that insanity. The shit that they've been laying down as a foundation since Monday with the security guard, the first prostitute, and now Cassie, has been abhorrent. He has not had one good day yet. It has made him look like a fucking animal, like a demon, like he's possessed by the devil. It makes him look like the scum of the earth, man, like an evil, just bad-spirited human being. You know what I mean? That's like he's like a sadistic motherfucker. It makes him look very sadistic. And some of it he cannot deny. With like these text messages and stuff where she says, listen, motherfucker, I've been telling you for a while I don't want to do this. I need, at the very least, I need time. I'm in pain. You never fucking care. The medicine's not helping anymore. I constantly have fucking UTIs because you're making me have unprotected sex with these guys. I have sores in my mouth and on my tongue from the friction because you make me fucking suck on Wang for 3 hours at a time with these random guys banging my mouth out. You know, friction fucking blisters, dude, in your mouth. And he just laughs at the bitch. He just laughs at her. That shit's fucked up, man. This dude is sadistic and evil. Sadistic and evil. Yeah, give me 2 seconds, guys. I'm going to mute this for just a second. Hang on, I'll be right back. If it'll work. All right. Take me a minute. I'm just going to grab a smoke real quick. I didn't want to make all kinds of crazy fucking noise going in and out of the doors and stuff. So let me go over here and grab a smoke real quick. We'll get back to it. Put this shit down right here. Well, Carmel's got a decent point. Carmel says, don't get your hopes up about the movie people. They know how to protect each other. Well, that's why I said, right now, we're still very, very early in the first few days of the first week of the trial. I wasn't expecting it to come out like this huge, cannonball. But there's got to be a few. And they even said when they had this giant list of celebrities, this is interesting though too, and back up for what I'm saying, which is they have, when they were doing jury selection, they were asking about a very, very, very long list of celebrities and places. And the judge made a joke about the length of the list and said the list of celebrities they read off and asked about was so long it reminded him of the back of the Lord of the Rings, which is actually pretty funny if you're a nerd and you understand that. They did say that a few of those, they wouldn't say which ones, but they said a few of those celebrities would be testifying. So it's going to be interesting to figure out which ones. Now, it's definitely not going to be Cuba Gooding Jr. because he's already a convicted felon for SA. He literally was walking up to women on the street and grabbing a hold of their parts. He's convicted of that shit. State and federal, by the way. Think about that. State and federal cases that guy's got. And he's accused in civil cases that involve Diddy and his boat with that Lil Rod guy who's been coming to court, by the way. He's been coming to this fucking trial. But it's going to be interesting to see which ones get mentioned and which ones show up to have to testify. Are you ready? You're welcome, Roddy. I find this stuff interesting. I'm glad, come on here and cover this and talk to my friends about it, get everybody's opinions on stuff, It's good to at least have a topic every now and again for a hell chat. Most of the time it's a free chat, no topic, late night. But at least for the next couple months, we've got a topic for our hell chats on Wednesdays. And then we'll be covering the P. Diddy pool house, of course. P. Diddy's pool house on the Skullbro show on Fridays. We'll be covering like whatever happened during the week. We'll do a little section on it. But I said before, I'll definitely do it on Wednesdays, and then any day that like something drops like a bomb or some like crazy info comes out or some crazy witness shows up, then I'll be doing it. I'll be covering it for sure. So over the next 8 weeks, I'll definitely be covering it. I'm gonna do another pirate show soon too. Maybe Saturday night I'll do another pirate show. And I said to Egon, and if Aegon's still listening, I mentioned to him before, Aegon, hit me up in an email so we can figure out that our next weird ish. Because I'd like to do another weird ish coming up soon. I know we spoke about a couple of topics. I think I emailed you about it, or I mentioned to you in the last chat or a comment or some shit like that recently. A couple of topics I think we should cover. What's up, Bella? What's up, William? So yeah, I'll have some more stuff coming up. I'll be going live a little bit more. We'll be doing this P. Diddy coverage. We'll be doing the Diddler trial coverage, and then I still got the pirate show that I'll be doing here. And then if I get a hold of Aegon, I'm gonna do another weird ish soon. Gigi and I have been talking about doing another one of these people that cook like shit, like one of these shows, watching people cook insane food. I'm sure he and I will get around to that when our schedules collide. Collide in just the right way that we both have open time. But the pirate one for sure, like I said, I'll probably do that Saturday. Oh, that's insane, KD. That new song from Kanye, forget about it. That's nuts. So are those t-shirts he's selling. That shit is absolutely bots, bro. Yeah, Bella, I've been covering it. You'll have to go back. We did one on Monday. MRE and I did the first day of the Diddler trial, and then tonight I covered day 2 and day 3, yesterday and today. So if you didn't catch it, like we're basically at the end of the Diddy coverage now, but or the trial coverage now. We're just kind of bullshitting. But if you didn't catch it, go back, listen to the one from Monday, and then check out tonight's show. Go back and on the replay, you'll catch it all. Gigi's good. He's been setting up some soccer stuff with Bane, or as some people call him, Adama. But he's been setting up some soccer stuff with Bane, and he's been working. He's been working a good deal, actually. Right on, Bella. You caught the replay on the first one. That's good. Yeah, so just catch the replay on this one. You'll be all caught up. And then on Friday on the Skullbro show, we'll have the P. Diddy Pool House, and MRE and I will talk about everything that's happened throughout the week. Because like I said, they're going to start cross-examination of Cassie tomorrow, which means the defense is going to get a hold of her, and that shit's probably going to get pretty nasty. It's going to last at least one whole day. It might go into Friday. We'll see. And then we'll see who else they're going to be calling up after her. That's going to be really interesting too. Because they've still got other women that need to testify and other prostitutes and stuff. They've got that drug dealer. I'm pretty sure they've got the guys that were involved in the arson on Kid Cudi's car. Hang on, I'm going to go grab another smoke real quick. I'll be right back. Just take me a second. Hang on. Fuck it, might as well while I'm already out here, right? Say Bella says, I feel bad for the girl. She's getting ready to have a baby. Yeah, she's 8 months pregnant, it said in the article. And that was one of the points of contention in the beginning of the trial that I found just absolute fuckery and douchebaggery on the part of the defense. Because they didn't want the jury to see how pregnant she was. What's up, MRH? What are you doing, man? Hopefully you're having a good night. like I just said to Bella, we're just basically finishing up the Diddy coverage. We're just kind of talking about little bits and pieces. So you have to go back and catch the replay for the whole rundown of day 2 and day 3 of that trial. Yeah, Bella says the trial should be televised. Honestly, I mean, the thing is, I mean, MRE and I were talking about that on Monday. You said you caught the replay, so you probably heard that. But he and I didn't really think that there was a need for such a blanket rule with the federal system. Like, we both understand and or understood when we were talking about it, and I understand. I should say that I think everybody that's reasonable understands. Let's put it that way. That's a better way to put it. Everybody understands it's reasonable that there's going to be trials that are federal, in which it's just, you're not going to be able to do that, right? There's going to be like points of national security. You might be dealing with some major shit, things that would put people in jeopardy, things that might like reveal like a spy's identity or something crazy like that. We get that. We totally understand that. Cases where the government has to make like weird deals with people, but not your everyday trial, especially with something like this. Now, you've got the people in there doing it like the old school, what they call it, the gumshoes, right? They're doing it like an old school gumshoe way. Like they have to sit in there and they're putting out wires, basically. Our equivalent to that is like, Twitter and Instagram and stuff, but they're basically putting out a wire. They're typing out what's happening play by play, minute by minute. They're just typing it out and putting it up. No, it's not Mickey's. It's not Diddy's child. It's the man that she's married to now. Yeah, it is, Dustin. It is. It's her new husband's child. Yeah. Yeah, it's not Diddy's at all. But yeah, that would suck, right? Yeah, I got you, KD. That's that serial killer guy, right? Or the guy that killed those people in the house in Pennsylvania, or whatever, those college kids. Yeah, like I said, I mean, just as reasonable people, we all understand there's going to be certain trials where, like, you're going to have to keep things off of a TV, or keep the audio secret, or black out the whole thing, like to protect people's identities, or to protect national secrets, or spycraft, or some crazy shit like that. But again, not your everyday federal trial. There's people that go to federal trials for all kinds of things: stealing mail, fucking selling drugs. That stuff shouldn't matter. This shouldn't matter either. These kind of charges for this guy shouldn't matter at all. So I agree it should be televised, just like the OJ trial, especially if they're going to sensationalize it as much as they have. And speaking of, that reminds me of too, something else I was going to mention, which is if you listen to these, or if you put the news on, pull up YouTube during the day while this trial is going on, and pull up like one of the news channels, they show, like, the only camera view that they'll show is like from the outside of the courtroom, because they have like their reporters come out at different times, or they have reporters come on camera and tell you, give the rundown live on camera. They talk to somebody, they ask questions, all that kind of stuff. My point of telling you that is there's some psycho motherfuckers outside of that courtroom. Diddy's got like his own crazy fibbies and stalkers and weirdos and stuff out there. I'm sure he's probably paid for some like picketers and professional people to go out there and shout stuff. But there's one guy out there in particular that's nuts. He's got a bullhorn, and he always runs up on the microphone that's set up out there. He's like, usually they have these microphones set up outside the courtroom, where like lawyers can come up and talk or whatever in between, like if they have a break or a lunch, or if they come out afterwards, at the end of the day. And as soon as this crazy fucker that's out there with the bullhorn, as soon as he knows that that mic is hot or he sees people coming in and out of the courtroom, he runs up to it and starts saying some crazy stuff. He was telling the press about how he's outside all day, basically like picketing or advocating for Diddy's freedom and his innocence and all this stuff. And he says that on the microphone, he's telling people in the press and in the crowd that are just looking at him like a psycho. He's telling them, if Diddy comes home, if he walks out those doors a free man, it's going to be because of me. It's not going to be because of his high-priced attorneys or his lawyers or his defense or anything. It's going to be because of me and the work I've done outside the courtroom. You hear all kinds of people yelling crazy shit outside there, man. People have lost their minds. They have no lives. They've never met Diddy a day in their life, never spoken to him. And they're out there. This dude's out there talking about he's the reason he's going to be found innocent and all this shit because of his work outside the courtroom, yelling at randos on the street. It's fucking nuts, man. It's fucking nuts. Hang on, let me get back over here and sit down. I'm done smoking. Pack up another bowl real quick. Maybe put some music on for a few minutes. We can hang out and chat for a few. Now that we've made it through everything. Give me just a second. I'm going to mute this again. I'll be right back. All right, cool. Sometimes when I get up and move around with this fucking thing, it makes weird noises apparently. So I just mute it when I'm walking. I'm going in and out of different rooms and shit like that. Get some music on in the background. Pack a fucking bowl. Everybody that's smoking, we can smoke a bowl together real quick. Let's see here. Let's pull up some music. Oh, I don't know. Let's just fucking pull up something easy going real fast. Something easy. I don't really feel like going digging through any of this shit. What do we got here? That'll work. Let's do that. No ad. Okay, cool. All right, there we go. What's up, foolish flock? All right, let me scroll up here through the comments real quick. Cause I just, you know how I get, you guys. I just fucking get to talking and don't pay attention. I'm bad about that sometimes. Let me go back through here. I was paying attention there for a minute while I was smoking, Let me see what it says here. KD says the news lies so bad during trials too. It's true. There's no getting around that, man. I would never disagree with you on that. And on day one, on Monday, KD, like one of the first things I said when we were covering this was, I've got no love certainly for the federal system, let alone the New York federal system. Those people are some of the dirtiest fucks on the face of the earth. And it's just inarguable. They've pulled more fuckery in the federal system in New York than almost anywhere in the world. Maybe LA and Chicago would be rivals for that kind of stuff, So you'll never get any argument out of me for that. And I'm just watching, that's why I'm so interested in watching that. Cool, Foolish Vlog just packed a bowl. KD's got one rolled up. Let's do it, man. Let's fucking do it. I'm still smoking these fucking snow caps. I got this one called Pineapple Express, so I had to fucking give it a try. I've seen it before and I've smoked it. I didn't realize it's a novelty name. Believe me, I realize that. I've smoked another actual strain Pineapple Express that is not this. But it is a killer fucking mix, this snow cap jar that I got. No doubt about it. Yeah, full of schlock. I agree with you. The news is, most of the time they're full of shit, man. But again, that's why I want to watch this trial unfold. I like looking at the ones where they're typing out like the play-by-play, right? Where you can literally see like what people are saying. They're literally telling you what people are saying. Okay, this prosecutor and their name, right? They put like lawyer name, then they quote what they said, and they'll put like, the prostitute or the security guard or Cassie, and then what they say. They tell you what the judge says. They tell you when they sidebar and what they can hear. So I mean that's pretty close. That's what I called it, a wire, like an old school gumshoe wire, because it is literally like what is happening. You just can't see it. So I've been gravitating towards that versus articles about, right? Because those are kind of like opinions, right? That's when you get into the news and then being full of shit. I haven't even been watching like any of this TMZ bullshit. I literally despise those fucking human beings on that TMZ show. I can't even like watch. It's fucking sickening to me. I hate those people. Especially that main dude that walks around with that giant cup, that little midget motherfucker. He walks around with that like giant cup or whatever. I'd love to just throw that dude in a wood chipper. Can't stand that guy. Can't stand that guy. But yeah, like, to everybody's point with the news and all that kind of stuff, I agree with you. And purposefully, that's why I've been gravitating towards these play-by-plays. One of them in particular is called Inner City Press. If anybody is on Twitter and wants to check that out, like anytime during the day while the trial is going on, Inner City Press is literally like live tweeting verbatim what people are saying. Like they're giving you exactly what certain people are saying. And then it's like you're there. Yeah, Fuller's Flock, TMZ is scum. I can't stand those people, man. I literally cannot watch it. It just makes me fucking sick. It makes me sick. Like I said, I can't stand that main dude that hosts it. Cannot fucking stand that guy. There's been a couple of decent ones. I can't think of their channel names, but I did come across a couple of channels where they were reading out the text, right? I was working and shit, and I couldn't sit there and literally like look up Inner City Press and like read it for myself every minute. That's just insane. I have a life and things going on in the daytime, like all of us that are grown and have responsibilities. But I did find a couple of channels that were basically just reading that stuff, right? Don't get me wrong, it was still social. They were reading comments, they were talking about things, having opinions, but they were still reading the play-by-play from the Inner City Press. And that's how I found out about that. They have a website and they have a Twitter and an Instagram, but the Twitter is like the main place you can go and just read it live as it's happening. So that's a good resource during the day. Or if you, again, like me, have things going on, you can just pull up one of these channels. If you see them reading the Inner City Press stuff, then it's pretty safe. Yeah, it's pretty safe. I've never even heard of that. Hold on now. This is a different topic of conversation, and that's okay for a second. We can get off it in a second. THCO. I've never even heard of that before. And take KD's word for it. Foolish lock. KD says it's cancerous and really bad for you in many ways. Yeah, then don't fuck with it. Don't fuck with it. I would take KD's word for that for sure, man. I know he knows his shit. We have conversations about things, and I know he knows his stuff. It's made from hemp, and it's CBD. They chemically change. Oh, I see, KD. Yeah, don't fuck with that stuff. Yeah, don't fuck with that. Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying, KD. It's made from hemp and it's CBD, and then they chemically change it into THC. Yeah, it's not good. THC 0. My bad. Okay, I got you. THC 0. Okay. I assumed it was O because of the THCA. It's right, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Okay, I got you, man. I got you. Yeah, I would take his word for it. on that one, and just based on what he just said, I couldn't agree. I would steer clear of that stuff. Yeah, and they didn't even hit that good. I ate the whole 5-pack of gummies and didn't feel a damn thing. Well, I assume so. Yeah, based on what that's what I would assume in the first place. If they're chemically changing some fucking CBD hemp bullshit into that, then I would assume it's just going to be garbage. It's not going to hit the right receptors. It's not going to do what it's supposed to do. And it makes even more sense. Like Katie said, that it was actually like cancerous and really, really bad for you. Yeah. Oh, is that right? Katie says THC 0 is supposed to be 3 times stronger than THC, but it's no fucking good for real. Okay, I got you. Yeah, see, I've not even heard of that before until now, man. Never even heard about that before. I mean, I know all about like the different levels of THC and the A and on like decarbing and all that and what it's for and why, right? I get all the conversions and all that stuff. I've just never heard of THC 0. But when I saw that, I started thinking along the lines of those, transitions with decarbing and THCAs and all that kind of stuff. That's why I thought it was an O. But that makes sense. You give it a number if it's some weird scientific concoction, right? It's like fucking A Delta Niner. What the fuck? Project Orange. It made you sweat a lot. Yeah, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. Not good at all, man. All right, let's keep this going. There we go. All right, cool. I don't want to have to look into that shit too much. Morgan says, just keep it natural. I quit dabbing. I just keep it natural, weed and hash. That's cool, man. Yeah, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that plan. Be just fine with that plan. No doubt about it. Yeah. I mean, I'm a fan of hash. I like bubble hash a lot. I like, straight up regular hash. I just have a fondness for bubble hash. I used to make piles and piles and piles and piles and piles and piles and piles of that shit. Oh, that's interesting. KD says the THC originally came about naturally in Tennessee when a crop of hemp got crossed with a marijuana crop about a decade ago. That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that. But I like these fucking snow caps, man. I've been hanging on to this shit for a while, bro. I like this Pineapple Express one that I got. It's a hybrid. Normally I stick to indica like 100%. I normally only get indica. And if I do mess with a hybrid, like in this case, it is like heavily indica dominant, like heavily, and no 50-50s, no 60-40s over here. So when I saw this one, it said Pineapple Express, and I was like, okay, let me check this out. I looked at it, and I looked into the percentages and all that shit. And it was a hybrid, but I took the sticker off now. I think it was an 80% dominant indica. So I picked it up. And I've enjoyed it, man. I like this one a lot. It kicks you in the forehead. Foolish Flock says, I've only had hash once, a few hits with my one friend. I don't know much about it, but badly want to try it on my own. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of haze, KD. I don't like sativas, man. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a huge fan at all. Another strain I don't like is fucking AK. I do not fucking like AK, bro. I never have. I don't like the fucking taste. I don't like the stone. I don't like anything about it. It is just not something I fuck with. Yeah, I do not fuck with AK. I don't like that shit at all. I never have. I don't like Northern Lights either. Um, it's just I don't like the taste. I don't like the smell. I'm just not fond of it at all. Yeah, you've mentioned the Purple Punch before, Kitty. I told you whenever you say that, it reminds me of Biodome. When fucking Pauly Shore's out there in the dome, he's growing that big pot plant. He's like, "What's your name?" And then he gets next to the plant. He's like, "Purple Sticky Punch." Like, you're a good girl. Yeah, shit's awesome. Oh, I've had haze. You know, I don't like haze, man. I just really don't. You know, I've smoked a lot of different like land race hazes, crosses, fucking new stream. You know, I'm just not a fan of the hazes, man. I never have been. But I don't. It's not like I dislike them in the way that I don't like I dislike AK. Right? I don't fucking like that strain. It doesn't matter who grows it, where it comes from. If it's real AK, I don't like that shit. I don't like the taste, especially when Northern Lights. I don't even like the smell of that because like really good Northern Lights, you know what I mean, it has that juniper uh, scent to it, and you can taste it too. That junipery kind of flavor. I don't like that at all. I just really, really don't like that. Carmel says I like the original Thai sticks. I never messed with a genuine Thai stick before. Foolish Flock says hash is like super potent weed, basically, right? No, it's just when you thresh the. What's the best way to? I can tell like you're, and I'm not being. I'm not in any way trying to put you off or anything like that, or be like. I can just tell like your level of the education on that, right? No, it's think of it as the crystals, right? They're called trichromes, but think of it as like the crystals that are on the weed, right? Even in ancient days, they would do what's called threshing, where they would beat the fucking dry plants until all those crystals, right? The trichromes, the fucking crystals fall off, and they'd have a pile of the crystals, right? And you pressure those together. You just make basically, like I'm saying, like in the most basic way, you'd make like a little blocks or bricks. You'd press all those crystals together into a little block. Those on the weed are really like, think about that as like what gets you high in the most basic terms. And instead of you smoking all that plant matter to get the crystals burned and into your lungs, right? Now you've got a pile of those crystals that you put into little blocks and like little hits, and you're just smoking the part that gets you high, like the best part of the plant. And it tastes really, really pure, and it's very, very potent. Yeah, I don't like this song. Hang on, let me find something else. But that's like the most basic breakdown. All right, let's try something else here. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, no offense. Like, I don't want to be condescending or anything, or come across condescending. I was trying to think of the nicest way to say it. Yeah, Katie, that's an even better way to think about it. Like Foolish Flock. Have you ever had a box that you kept urban that had a screen at the bottom? And then like every now and again you could just tap the box and put all that dust, right? All the crystals that fell off the buds, that fell through the screen while you were rolling or whatever. You ever seen a box like that? A keef box? I ever got a hold of like just keef? It's the same thing. That's hash that hasn't been like pressed together into a block, right? It's just loose. Well, if you really cool, Foolish Flock. Well, check it out. I mean, that's the easiest way, man. Is like, or the closest thing if you don't have like dispensaries in your area, or you don't have a way to get a hold of like actual hash, then I would say, cool. Morgan just took one of them. I was going to say to you, yeah, okay, cool. So what you want to do, Foolish Flock, is get you one of those keef boxes, and then when you get a good enough, and you can even make the pile bigger. Take your bud and just fucking screen it, dude. Just lightly rub, until you get flat sides on the dry buds, dude. And most of those, a lot of those crystals are going to fall through. And once you get a good little pile of that, you can either press it together yourself, or you can just take a little spoon or something and pick that up and put it right on top of your bowl, dude. But the other way you go about this is what Morgan was saying. You get, and this will get you bubble hash, and that's what I was talking about. Is my like one of my favorite types of hash. Get you some bubble bags. Look up on YouTube bubble bags. You know, hash, and it's going to teach you exactly how to do it. You don't have to have an insane amount because you're going to be dealing with buds. You're not going to have access to a grower where you have leaves and all that kind of. But get you some bubble bags. They're cheap. Look that shit up on YouTube. Look it up online, whatever you want to do. It'll tell you exactly how to do it, and you will make yourself some bomb-ass fucking hash, dude. Yep. You have yourself some bomb-ass hash. Well, yeah, KD. That's like my favorite strain of all time, and that's when I said I made piles and piles and piles and piles and piles and piles of fucking bubble hash. That's what we were using back in the day. Yeah, we made fucking piles of that shit, bro. Yeah, just play the music. There we go. That's better. All right, let's pack this fucking thing back up real quick. Bam. Quick and easy. Yeah, there you go. No worries, Foolish Brock. Hey, what's up, JS, man? What are you doing? Hope you're having a good night, man. We're just going over the second and third day of the Diddy trial for most of the show, and now we're just kind of winding it down with some music and some bowls being packed around here. A little hash talk with a couple of people that were interested. Well, that's right, Foolish. There ain't a goddamn thing wrong with that, man. Everybody learns something new. You know, every day you learn something new. You got to learn something sometime. You know, luckily there's a few people in here that know exactly what they're talking about for those kind of questions. So you're in the right place. You're in the right place, my friend. Yeah, I'm all more than happy to help out with stuff like that, bro. Pay it forward with those kind of lessons. I always tell all that stuff by straight up hippies. I've mentioned that before. Straight up fucking hippies, man. Oh, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Let me grab that real quick. I've been watching this show on Netflix, man. I've got like addicted to it, all totally by accident. And I don't even know when I know it's an older show. I can tell just by watching. I don't know exactly when the last season was. It's called The Blacklist. It was 10 seasons long. I'm pretty sure they even had it like on TV the way it's set up. But I've been fucking binging that shit in the small bits of free time I have for myself. I've been sitting down watching that. I've been enjoying that show lately. Oh, what's it say? Hold on. I posted a short of what I was smoking on when watching Skullbro show and gave a shout out last Skullbro show. Oh, that's cool, KD. I'll check that out, man. I'll go by your channel and check that shit out. Yeah. I don't know what was going on with the shorts that, like the Trash on Blast shorts. Like I gave it like a week, man. I held off of it. I was putting one up every day, right? I was putting up a short every day, and it seemed like, you know, they're doing all right. I never expected. I have a small channel, man. You know, I don't expect anything that I put ever like go the fuck off or anything like that. So, like they were getting like 100, 200 views, and I was like, that's cool. You know what I mean? I always like it when people leave comments. That's my favorite part. I always tell people that, that's why I always encourage and ask people to leave comments at the end of like the Skull Bro shows or anything I'm doing with like content, right? Actual content, like the Skull Bro show and the fucking pirate shows and stuff. I do, like now I'm doing the Diddy stuff. And the same thing with the shorts. I look forward to like when people are like, holy shit, like they didn't see this person on, or that episode we did with that particular trash. That was the whole thing with these shorts. And I just, it's hilarious to me. People leave comments, they have funny quips or like really, really funny comments to make on them, or they haven't seen it and they're shocked. But either way, I'm like posting one every day, and they were doing basically like the same thing. That was my whole point with the view numbers. Like they were basically all like around the same. You know what I mean? They were all like 150 to 250. A couple of them I think were like shared out and stuff because they were so outrageous. I think like the dude that banged the fucking horse in Walmart and Target or whatever, the stuffed animal fucker, that guy, that one did like 400 views or something. I was like, that's cool. I want this trash to get put on blast. That's the whole point of trash on blast. And that's why I put it up on, I wanted to put it up on a couple places, try and get as many people to see these freaks as possible. Have some fun with the comments and shit like that. But for some reason, dude, it was like YouTube was like purposely like limiting them. You know what I mean? Like limiting people that would see them, like the number of people that would see them. Because for like literally like no reason, the numbers were just fucking plummeting on them, dude, and like it didn't even make sense at all. And like the thing that was weird is like they would still have like comments from my friends, you know what I mean? There were like a few of them, but not as many. I don't think as many people saw them. And I looked it up, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And a couple of the articles I said like it might have to do with the fact that I was like hashtagging them with the same things. It said that that's one of the things that can make the algorithm gods angry, right? The YouTube algorithm gods angry, I guess, is like you always use like the same hashtags or whatever, which is fucking stupid. I hate all this fucking Fagione bullshit. I hate it. I fucking hate it. But it made me curious, so I looked it up and I found out all this fucking Fagione bullshit that YouTube does and their algorithm does. So, I waited like a whole week, right? I said, all right, well, if maybe I've angered the fucking algorithm gods somehow. And I'll wait like a week before I put up another one. I've been putting up one every day. I'll give it like a week. And then when I do that, like I'll change up the fucking hashtaggery a little bit here and there, right? And it said also to put some hashtaggery like in the title, right? This same stupid article that I read. So I do that. I fucking wait a whole week. I mess with the hashtaggery. I put the fucking hashtaggery in the title, and overnight the fucking thing does like over 1,000 views. Right? It's just the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest fucking thing, man. Oh, what is this? JS says, did you see the guy who got popped at Lowe's with lube and a phone butt naked in one of those sheds they have open outside? That's amazing. No, I haven't seen that yet, man. I haven't started my search. I've said before, typically I would have started my search today. Typically, I start looking around on Wednesday. I give it some time for the the world to get stupid to for a couple of days and let stuff hit the press, right? And then I usually start looking like Wednesday through Friday, and I just quickly bookmark things, right? I'll read like synopsis of something, I'll just see a title and be like, oh, we've definitely got to look at that. But no, I was so fucking busy today. I haven't had a chance to do that. But that's amazing, JS. I'm gonna have to look that up. Yeah, Katie says bad mouthing all those freaks YouTube doesn't like. Well, I mean, like fuck them. I'm gonna keep doing it. Luckily, you know, like for me, it's not about the curious why they like just fell the fuck off the way they did, right? Because again, like the article, or I looked up like 2 or 3. I looked up the same search, and I read 2 or 3 articles. Let's put it that way. I did a search, read like 2 or 3 articles on what I could have done to anger the algorithm gods. And you know, it said like posting one every day isn't a big deal. You know what I mean? Like it said, do it on a schedule if you're gonna do it like that. And I said, okay, whatever. You know, it said consider maybe, you know, doing one like every other day, see if that works out better. But then I came across the part in all 3 of those articles that said, you know, like try and change up your hashtags, you know, and I fucking hate this shit. I hate that stupid shit. It's like, you know, people subscribe to the channel because they want to see what the channel is doing. I based it on the fact that I'm a human being. And if I subscribe to a channel, it's because I am interested in the content that channel puts out. I don't need some fucking algorithm or YouTube to tell me what they think I'm, you know, worthy of seeing that day. No, just show me the stuff that got put out. Oh, foolish flock. Yes, I do. I'll just say that. Yes, I do. More than a couple. We'll say that. But yeah, so like all this bullshit with the, you know, they limit the number of people that they show your stuff to, and they do the marketing samples, right? Well, we'll show it to 30% of the people that have subbed to you. And if a certain number of them click like and leave a comment or share your stuff, then we'll go ahead and we'll show it to another 30% of your crowd. And if a certain number of them, you know, do the same thing and like and comment or share, then we'll show it to more people, and we'll show it to people outside of your group and see if they like it too. Fuck you. How about that? Just fuck you and all that Fagion bullshit. If somebody subbed to me, put my stuff in their fucking, what do you call it, their feed. Drop it in their feed someplace, right? Same thing with me. If I'm subbed to people, just drop their shit in my feed. You know, it's bullshit, man. And then you have to play with these fucking hashtags. And of course, I made up my own word for the hashtaggery. It's infuriating. But either way, isn't that fucking weird, man? So I wait the week like it tells me. It says wait some time, change up your hashtaggery, and that should, you know, help you with the algorithm gods. And look at what fucking happened. I put one up after I waited a week. I changed the hashtaggery, and it does like over 1,000 views overnight. That's just weird. That's just fucking weird. And then the next one I put up will do 80, right? Because it'll be like, oh no, we don't like those hashtags, right? Like, or we don't like the time of day you put that up. Some dumb fucking arbitrary bullshit. Yeah, what the fuck? This shit's weird, man. I just figured I would talk, you know, I'm just like talking out loud about, you know, figured I'd talk to you guys about that because it was weird and perplexing. And I hate it. Like, just let me have a conversation. Just show it to people that subbed me, and let, you know, so they can leave comments and we can have conversations about stuff. I don't need you to show it to people out in the middle of you, right? Like, I don't need that. I don't care about ever going viral. I don't care about my shit getting seen by all these people that don't know me, or fucking, I don't even give a fuck about those people's opinions. Right? Like, for real. I don't give a fuck what the numbers say. I just want you to show it to my friends so that they can see it and get a laugh and, you know, probably have a comment, you know, in there for us to convo about it and shit like that. That's why they subbed to my channel. It's fucking absurd to me. Totally fucking absurd to me. Yeah, TikTok I hate TikTok. That's literally my least favorite place I've ever been on the internet. Everyone on that site has the fucking IQ of a tree stump. Like, the people that make content are worthless to humanity, most of them. Like, the stuff that goes, like, you know, big numbers, like the stuff that's watched millions of times. And that gives me, like, such little hope for the human race. Like, when I go on TikTok, I see idiocracy in real time. You know, it's like, I see the person that made this video. I see the content of the video. It's fucking ridiculous. There's nothing good or interesting about it. and millions and millions and millions of people have like watched this and like liked it or whatever the fuck they do over there. I hate it. It's a cesspool. It's a fucking cesspool. And you want to talk about a place that Trash on Blast got shadow banned, bro. I refuse to play the game. Like, I read all the stupid stuff that they tell you, about TikToks. Like, oh, you got to go to other people's channels and you got to like their stuff and you got to subscribe to their channel and then they'll subscribe back to you. I'm like, I'm not playing that game. What are you, fucking nuts? I'm not doing that dumb shit. I'm not doing that dumb shit. Again, just when people put out content, just drop it in a feed someplace, man. Just drop it in feeds. If people see it, awesome. That's why I put it up there, the Trash on Blast. But I don't think they like that stuff at all, because that shit's been like, they call it shadow banning or whatever, or somebody said that in here earlier. I'm pretty fairly convinced that TikTok is like shadow banned the Trash on Blast clips that I put up there, because it's like fucking crickets in that motherfucker. It's like crickets. And like the first day I signed up, right? And I put up the first Trash on Blast clip. TikTok was like, okay, cool, let's show this to a few people. And it got like, like 12 likes, or I don't even know what the number is. I'm just saying, it got like a dozen likes or whatever. A couple of people left comments, a couple of people subscribed to the channel. They were just, randos, total fucking randos. But by the second day, that shit had stopped. That shit had fucking ceased, dude. And every single one I put up on there after that, even with like different hashtaggery and shit like that, different music on them, literally, dude, crickets, like 0, 1 view, 2 views, like they just sit there. So what I've done is I just make it like this repository. That's what I've turned fucking TikTok into. It's like literally the place that I upload these videos and put music to them and just leave them. And I can download them if I want and quickly put them up on another site. Like I put a couple of them up on Rumble, which is another place that's just like, it seems like content goes to die unless you're like talking about politics or fucking aliens or reptilians or some shit like that. Yeah, that place is fucking crickets too. But we just hit the number of subs at least to where like we can go live over there. So like at first I wasn't able to stream from both. Like I use Restream, right? So from Restream you can stream out to more than one platform at the same time. Everybody knows that about these platforms, or about these streaming sites, right? You can go to different places at the same time. Well, for a while we didn't have enough subs on Rumble for our shit to stream there too. As of last week we did, so it finally popped up there. So we'll just keep that going. Like every time we do a Skullbro show on Friday, I'm just gonna have it, go out to both. And if anybody over there finds it or wants to watch it, good for them. We also got like to where we got enough subs where we could change the URL, so we could have a custom URL and all that kind of stuff. So maybe I'll put that shit up like in a comment on YouTube or something like that, or I'll put up a post, for anybody that is on Rumble, and I'll put the address up there, or I'll put our URL on there. People can go by there and check it out if they want. So I think the one thing we will be able to do that and use it for like a while, MRE and I have talked about wanting to. I mean, they call it reviewing, but we would just be like watching and fucking making fun of and commenting on. So call it doing commentary on like stuff that we like, and we want to like maybe ask people out in the interwebs and in our chat, what movies you guys want us to watch, or comment on, give commentary on. But YouTube's so tricky. Like we've talked about it before. We're like, maybe we could do it not live. We could record it. I can edit it all together and chop it. That would be the safest way for us to do it, right? I could follow all the rules and it wouldn't be a problem. But if we do it live on like Restream, for instance, or StreamYard, we're probably gonna get flagged and fucking kicked pretty quick. So I think what we're gonna do, we want to do it live. That's like the main thing. Like, I don't have a problem with recording it. We could do that if it comes to it. We can totally do that and give commentary on it and edit it and fuck around with it and put our own stuff to it to where we can load it on YouTube. But optimally, we want to be able to do it live so we can talk to people in the chat, obviously. So I think that's what we're going to be able to use Rumble for, to kind of kill two birds with one stone. Because it said on there, and I've read in a few different places, that in order for something to get taken down or hit, the content owner literally has to be like watching at that time. They have to see it happening. It has to be made in real time. Otherwise, you're not going to get kicked off. And they have a whole section for like movie reviews and stuff like that over there on Rumble. I saw that in their list of things you can pick from, at least. So I think that's probably going to be pretty safe for us to be able to do that over there, do it live. And then once it's done, I can download the video, edit it together and do all the shit, and then put that up on YouTube maybe, right? So we'll see. We'll see. But one of the first movies for certain that we're going to have to do is, like, we've talked about it anyway before, but other people were bringing it up in the chat, is My Blue Heaven. That's a movie he and I both like, and most of the people in our chats are familiar with and enjoy. So I think that'll probably, I already have a copy of it. So that'll probably be one that we can start off with, one of the first ones anyway. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do, Honeybee. I think we're going to do it over there on Rumble, like I said, and we can do it live there. I think it's going to be pretty safe. We can do it live. We can put the link up on YouTube, and anybody that wants to from our chats that sees it can come over there. You know, we can do commentary on the movies we watch, and then I can download it from there, edit it together, and put it on YouTube. It shouldn't be a big deal. Yeah, I got you, Katie. Katie says, you know, Rumble can be a good place where you can grow and stuff. They've got a lot of shows that do really, really well on the internet. I got you, man. There's all the stuff that I've seen that like has a decent number of people in their chats or has like decent views on their videos and stuff. Have all been like, you know, political stuff or like sensationalized kind of stuff, or yeah, just content that I don't do, man. You know, I've seen like a lot of different stuff on there that's done well, but I haven't seen like random channels with people that aren't like gaming. Maybe, you know, I saw a couple of those too that seem to do pretty well. But whatever, we'll give it a shot. Like I said, we're going to be doing the show every Friday anyway. And since StreamYard lets us go, you know, just put it up on different places, I'll just keep sending it over there. That's why I said anybody that wants to watch it can. You know, anybody that comes across and finds it cool. And if anything, it can be a different place for us to go so we can do commentary on movies and shit like that from time to time. Let's see. I'm just going through the chat real quick. My Blue Fibby. Yeah, right. Yeah, no, My Blue Heaven, man, that shit's classic. You know, and again, it's a movie that most people that are subbed to our channel, I'm sure, you know, everybody in here is very familiar with that movie. It's a classic. And it's really, really, really genuinely funny. You know, the whole movie is genuinely funny. Steve Martin kills in that. Everybody kills in that movie. All the acting is great. The story is good. It's funny as hell. Yeah. And I've seen it 100 times. So it's a good one where we can like be going through it and pause it in just the right places. You know what I mean? And talk about it and stuff. That'll be a good one. But there's, you know, any number of movies we can do over there. What's up, Mandy? Good to see you. Dom says, I could see the history streams you do doing well there. Yeah, we'll see. I've only been putting the Skullbro show up over there and like stuff from that. Like, I don't know. Maybe eventually I'll just load up a bunch of different content, let it go or whatever, and maybe I'll start a different channel. I don't know. I don't know. But for right now, I'm just putting the Skullbro show up over there. We'll see how that does. And I've been putting up, like I said, I've been putting up some random Trash on Blast shorts over there too. Not nearly as many as I've put up on YouTube, because that, like I mentioned before, I was putting up one every day for like a couple of weeks there. And then YouTube was like, I angered their god somehow. Conspiracy stuff does well over there. Yeah, I mean, I've done a couple of those. I want to do more. Like I said, I got to get a hold of Aegon. I sent him an email, or I left him a comment or something like that not too long ago, reminding him of a couple of the ideas that we had. Because I'd like to do like the next weird ish that we do. I'd like to maybe do with CERN and the Mandela effect. We were talking about that before, and I wanted to follow up with that because I think that that's a really good idea. That's some shit that fucks with me and fucks with a lot of people in the chat. We've talked about it a handful of times, so I think that would be a good topic for us to do. Let's see if I can't get a hold of Aegon. I'll shoot him an email, tomorrow or Friday, and see if we can't set one up for next week sometime. Because Saturday I want to do the next pirate show. We're into the fucking sailings of Captain Morgan with a guy that was on the boat, and the guy that was right there next to him, gnarly pirate. He was the barber surgeon. For anybody that hasn't listened, that's listening now that hasn't heard any of the pirate shows I've done, you gotta go check those out. Yeah, we're in the midst of the sailings and raids of Captain Morgan with the guy that was right there for all of it, fighting and swashbuckling and treasure stealing. So I'm looking forward to continuing that. I want to do that on Saturday night. What's up, Hev? Hev says, hey, RTC. I've streamed TV shows on Rumble. YouTube sucks at the moment. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. YouTube pissed me off. I was just talking about that a little bit ago. Yeah, that fucking YouTube stuff pisses me off. I mean, literally, when I was reading this article, I was just looking at it with disdain. I was literally looking at my screen with disgust, just like, you fucking assholes. Why do you have to make everything so overly complicated, dude? What is your deal? Fuck you people. This is really easy. It's really easy. I make content. You host the content. It gets seen by the people that fucking subscribe to my channel. This is not brain surgery, guys. What the fuck? And what gives you the fucking right to, like, suppress my shit or even have rules in your algorithm about things that get suppressed based on, like, hashtaggery and stuff like this? Go fuck yourself. Wholly un-American. It is fucking wholly un-American. Yeah, Foolish Flock says, if you didn't watch any of the pirate stuff, RTC will make you walk the plank. There you go. That's funny. I like that. Yeah. Such great stories, man. Obviously I'm biased because I'm the one that's telling them, but I chose the true stories. You know what I mean? We're not reading from fucking bedtime books over here. We're not reading bedtime stories and made up tales. We're reading the first-hand account of a buccaneer and a pirate who was there for all these raids that I'm reading you. But, we've got a few books to go through. We're starting with this one because it's the longest and the most historically accurate first-hand account that sailed with, a few different pirates. We've got, there are a couple of them that we're going to go through them. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting through some more of these. They're my favorite. Some of my favorite tales, man. Like when we did Rock Brasiliano towards the beginning of the book, that's literally like in the top 3 pirate tales for me, man. Like one of my favorite pirate tales. That shit with Rock Brasiliano is great. He has the treasure, then he doesn't have the treasure. And he has the treasure, and he doesn't have the treasure. They're trying to kill him, and he escapes. And they get him again, and he escapes. He was that crazy bastard that jumped off the boat and had to be held up by do-it-yourself floaties, like little homemade floaties he made, and got onto the shore and had to hide in the woods and inside a tree trunk, and took 2 weeks crossing the island. And instead of getting off the island when he found another boat, he asked him for men to go help him so he could go break his dudes out of jail and steal all his stuff back. Just a great tale, man. Great tale. Let's say the channel called Voices from the Past. That sounds vaguely familiar. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I have seen something from that channel. Yeah, he said does like first-hand accounts of history. So that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's the stuff that I enjoy. People always hear me talking about, the personal journals and of people that I read and talk about here. Like Captain Cook and all that kind of thing. All these different seafarers' tales. They're always first-hand accounts. Some of my favorite first-hand accounts are also from Port Royal. One of the most, or really some of the most epic tales of Port Royal, though, are not even the piracy, but when it was destroyed and the people that survived that, that were in the middle of that liquefaction and tsunami, when a big chunk of Port Royal ended up underwater. Some of those accounts are absolutely fucking unimaginable, literally unimaginable. People trying to get out of that town, watching the ground crack and split and come back together and liquefy, and like the people that were pulled in and there'd just be a hand sticking out, or like the head and an arm, and people disappearing completely. It's unbelievable. Those stories are unbelievable. And the dogs coming through and eating the heads of the people that were sticking above the ground, or when they would get forced back to the top in certain places where the ground was still like coming back together and creating pressure and like little hills. Fucking nuts, man. Nuts. One of my favorite parts of Captain Cook's journal, though, and really it's one of my favorite parts of history that's written down, obviously first-hand account like we're talking about, obviously in the journal. One of my favorite things in history is when Captain Cook pulls into the fucking Bay of Tahiti and comes in contact with those people for the very first time. It is such an amazing description and so well written that it puts you there. And the way they describe these, the boats that you see like the Polynesians on, right? Like the catamaran style, the trimaran style. And then, like they have all like the little sections of them that are built up with the palm fronds and the, pieces of the palm trees and stuff. But some of these boats that were like war type boats for the Tahitians, and like the ones that were meant to carry a lot of people, were literally fucking 2 and 3 stories tall. Had people on them with the drums and the instruments, and they're fucking burning fires and chanting and covered in tattoos. Absolutely amazing. And then what ensues over the next, bit of time while they're there in the bay and they're all actually coming in contact and trying to do trade is fucking ubats. It is insane. Absolutely fucking insane. people have to read that, or I'm going to cover it in an episode. I'll cover it in an episode. Maybe we'll read that whole path in a future like history type episode when I'm doing like maybe when we're get around or get past the piracy and I'm doing like some of the sea tales and stuff. We'll get into some of those journals and maybe I'll just read that whole section because it's one of my favorite things ever. It's amazing. Yeah, voice. I got you. Yeah, the voices of the past. And I said it sounds vaguely familiar, man. I'm fairly certain that I've seen something from that channel before. Yeah, I'm fairly certain I've seen some content from that channel before. I'll check it out and see what they have. I'll give you a good one. It's called In Our Time. It's a BBC production. It is very English. They have some of the brightest scholars in the world. It's just you'll see what I mean when you go on there and open up shows. In Our Time. Now you can find a good number of them, a few dozen of them on YouTube, but they also have them like on their own like website, like years of them. So there's like lots and lots and lots of different topics, and they're all excellent. Any subject that they cover on In Our Time, the panel that they put together in there, and it's like a radio show. There's nothing to watch. It's all audio. Without exception, every panel that they put together for any topic that they cover is literally made of like the brightest minds on earth in that topic. A lot of these people are like Ivy League professors, people from, Cambridge, you'll see what I mean. It's just absolutely endless that they bring on those shows. People that are like at the forefront of their craft or the subject, and their history shows are unmatched. I listen to those shows every now and again. I've gone through just about all the ones that they have on YouTube. I've been through a large number of the ones that they have on the website, and I still check them out from time to time. But that's a great show, In Our Time. That's a good history one to check out. They do other topics besides history, but they also do, I think they do like some science and literature and things like that for sure. Like I know I've seen, they did a handful of really, really, really good informative shows on Shakespeare. Some were specific to the writings, some of the individual writings, some were to the life of. I think one of them was like a collective works type show. But the history shows that they have in particular are very, very, very good. Yeah, very good. Well, on that note, my friends, I think we're going to go ahead and call it a night. We got everything out of the way with the Diddy trial. We covered, we did a quick recap of Monday, day one. But for anybody that hasn't, you can go back and check out the show that MRE and I did on Monday for the opening day of the Diddy trial. That had the opening statements and the first two witnesses. And then today we covered day 2 and day 3, which was yesterday and today of the Diddy trial, finishing up with the second witness and moving into Cassie, covering her whole testimony with the prosecution. Like I said, there may be a very small amount left, maybe a half hour or so with the prosecution in the morning, but then they're going to be moving on to cross-examination from the defense, and that's probably going to get pretty hairy and filled with fuckery, so strap in for that one. It might last all of tomorrow. If they take the same amount of time the prosecution did, then they'll probably be going at it until middle of Friday. But we will see. I don't know who the next witness is after Cassie. I don't believe they've announced that yet. So I'm going to go ahead and out on a limb and say we don't know who the next witness is. But We will see how long the defense takes with cross-examination. We'll follow that for sure. And on Friday, when we do the Skullbro show, we're bringing back, P. Diddy's pool house. So on Friday for the Skullbro show, we will definitely be covering the first week of the Diddy trial, going through everything that happened. And we'll make sure we give a little special attention to the stuff that happens tomorrow and Friday, since we've only covered the first 3 days so far on here. But with that being said, I hope everybody has a great night. I appreciate everybody that came through as always. It's always good seeing all of you. Always good insight and opinions. Always very funny. Everybody that comes to the chat's one of my favorite things about the people that we hang with around here. Always very funny, very smart. Click the like button on the way out. I appreciate it. If you're listening to this later, please click the like button. Apparently, it helps the YouTube algorithm gods feel good about you. Leave a comment. That's for me. I always like hearing from everybody, man. Let me know what you think about the trial. Maybe one of the details that we learned about tonight by going through the minute by minute with the trial. Some of these things they were talking about this poor woman had to do or go through or endure. Leave a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know your thoughts on any one of those things, or anything that I didn't say you just might have to happen to have a thought about in the trial. Maybe something I didn't bring up. Just leave a comment. I talk back. I enjoy that. So we'll see you on Friday for the Skullbro show. Either way, 10:30. Everybody be